We are live. What's going on, everybody?
What's up, dude?
What's going on, guys?
Have an Iron City brew.
Lucky.
Get that.
Cheers,
Yeah,
dude. It's not
I got my
Iron
sinus
City, but it's an
medication.
Iron City mug, so I'm with you.
Dude.
Cheers.
All right, cool.
Well, I'm drinking what the hell is this? Breakfast stout or something like that. I don't know. It's gonna take like 2 of these, and I'll be a little loopy here in a little bit. But how's everybody doing? I need some of that. I'm probably gonna need some of that because I feel it coming on, and we're here in southern Indiana getting ready for snowpocalypse, winterpocalypse, whatever you want to call it, 2025. It's supposed to be hitting later tonight, so I'm looking forward to that. But how's everybody in the chat doing? Everybody doing good? Ringing in
Awesome.
the new year, 2025, 2024 is in the books. We're going to recap it, look over everything that took place over the last year in the world of Romero, the world of horror, the world of Earth. Whatever you guys want to talk about tonight. It's an open forum, open topic. But introducing the guests for the roundtable. This is roundtable number 2. Right here, let's see, this way. I'm gonna figure this out because I'm all fucking backwards on here. But right over here to this way, new face to the channel. You guys know him from the chat, Mr. Ed Trader, music and entertainment. What's going on, Ed?
Doing very well. How you doing, man?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good. Getting the new year started with a blizzard, an ice storm, whatever the hell's going to come tonight. So I'm looking forward to that.
Stay warm.
Yeah, I don't know. Are you supposed to get any down in Arkansas? I know there's like a big area
North of me.
North of you. But yeah, looking forward to that. Good to have you on here, man. Brand new
Awesome.
face to the channel. Next to him, you guys all know him. It's the man that knows all about almost anything, and the man who has seen everything in the theater on its first run back in the
Exactly.
Name the movie he saw it, ladies and gentlemen, everybody. Mr. Synth Addict. What's going on, Synth?
Professional lurker. How's it going? Doing all right. It's my 3rd podcast today. It's been a busy day. So
Wow.
Yeah, I know you had a busy lineup today. You were telling me, so
Yeah,
I'm glad
one
you
of
took
those
time
things.
out to
It's
come on and hang out with us for a little bit.
apocalypse. So
Yeah. Hey, man, you getting it out there,
it's fun, yeah.
Down below him, man who has been everywhere lately. I've seen him. He was on Grande's channel doing the Grande's Roundtable a couple of weeks ago. He was on Jace's channel, Music and Monsters. I've seen this guy everywhere here lately. He's Fulci is not around. Fulci is annoyed and is dealing with his own issues right now. But
That's right.
but everybody, Matt Landrum, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening. Thanks for having me on, dude. It's always good to see you. Synth, it's good to see you again. Ed and John, good to meet you guys. I'm glad to be here. Yeah, fucking Fulci's out, man. He hung out as long as he could, but all the rednecks shooting off guns and revving cars, he couldn't take it. His anxiety got the best of him, so he's out for the evening. But he was here in spirit. Oh, and I gotta say too, dude, your music. Thank you so much. Cruel Eyes, that's one of my favorite bands. That was like my most listened to artist of last year. You're the fucking man.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
Clan of Zymox meets The Cure.
Oh, they're awesome, dude.
Yeah. It's a great album, and I really that song I've been playing on like a repeat for
Yes.
quite like a month now. It's just like
Yeah.
it's perfect. But down below me, man himself, you guys remember him? He's in the middle. You can tell he's taking a break from his day job of digging up the dead or
Doing the Lord's work.
unearthing the dead or discovering the dead or whatever you want to call it. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Mr. John Vullo. What's going on, John?
Nothing much. Can't really complain. Actually feeling a little bit better. Getting like a tinge of a sinus infection, and this wasn't feeling super great, but I took some medication. I guess I'm okay for now. So
Took them drugs and you good. But yeah, I'm starting to feel a little something. I've been battling something for the past couple, but everybody's been kind of getting sick here lately, so it's kind of going around.
Can we call John the professional zombie excavator?
Yeah.
That's a good one. What was the term that I used? A Romero archaeologist?
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
I had a guitar student of mine. He
Digging up
said
the
I
dead.
was the living detective.
Yeah.
I thought that
That's
was
good.
Perfect.
Detective.
That's the
Perfect.
winner. That's the winner.
That's it.
Yeah, I said I got to use that for something. If anything, that comes from this, little interesting quip. It's a lot of fun doing that stuff, and it's just like when I did all the Alan Holdsworth stuff. like I did it because I wanted to know it, and then I share it, and then I'm glad that everyone else. It's like the right people appreciate it. This is not something for everybody, but if the hardcore fans or the hardcore nuts like me are into it, that's enough of a reward for me. And I have a feeling, hopefully, I get some sort of monetary compensation in some sort of way. I don't know in what form.
Write a book.
But yeah, whatever it may be. But it's not really the reason. It's just like I have to. So like I'll tell you this: there's only 3 male ghouls left unknown in the film. And I've been desperately trying to find.
Give it a week. Give it a week. You'll figure it out.
Well, the problem is I've like thrown out and tugged as many like threads that I can. I don't know if there's really that much left to go on. So I'm hoping at this point I have people come to me. I have, if you include Sharon, I found 40 people.
That's awesome.
So you're gonna have names until July. Every Sunday.
2026, July 2026. Because you're gonna keep coming up. You're gonna get done with night, and then you're gonna move on to dawn. You're gonna figure.
No, I can't. See, the thing is, with night, I know that there's a set amount of people. With dawn, it's impossible. Actually, one of the people that I just verified, he actually had a role in the dark half, who I was able to find. But he said that he's in dawn, and there's like no way that you would ever be able to find him because.
Let me ask. I don't know if you can spill this or not.
Okay.
Richard France. Is he in night?
Dude, I was just about to ask the same question. Somebody's got to know this for sure.
If anybody's going to figure it out, it's going to be John. So
if it's true or not, it'll come out.
That's an answer. That's an answer. If it's true or not, it'll come out.
If it's true, it'll wash.
Yeah. But I mean, I've had other people tell me that like they were so this is like part of the problem is it's not really Richard, but it's sometimes people will say that they're in the film or like their uncle. What I'll do is I'll just do some fishing on Facebook. What's actually really good is like the Heinz History Center or like a Pittsburgh Facebook group, will put up a picture of some image from Night of the Living Dead. And then I'll just scroll through the Facebook comments and say, oh, my uncle was in the film. And that's how I like at least get some things to pull from. But the problem is a lot of people get like confused and they say like, they were in the film and it turns out that it's probably Dawn of the Dead because they were too young. But I want to get this off my chest because this really bothered me. This annoyed me. Someone said that their mother was in the film. So, okay. And then I contact them. I don't get a response. I try to contact people around them. And I think I contacted like the grandson. And when I do these things, it's really hard to text someone cold, like out of nowhere. Just like, hi, who are you?
It's a little creepy.
Yeah, so I try to really be thorough.
I get those messages all the time, and it's usually like, hi, is this Susan? I'm like, no, you got the wrong number. It's like, well, who is this? I'm like, oh, God.
Yeah, they'll just spam things. But I try to say,
Can
like,
you
this
send
is
me
what
money?
Yeah, this is what I'm doing. We want to add you to the website. This is the website. If this isn't who I'm looking for, please let me know. So I did that to somebody, and they said, "What's in it for me?" And I went, "Well, we're just looking to add names." So good luck. All right, thank you. So I kept on looking around, and I got an email address. I sent them an email and got a very polite response back. Okay, whatever. So I said, well, this person said that they're in the film, and they even said like, oh, this is me in the film. So I go to the Facebook page again because I want to look at photos to see like, oh, is it plausible? And the person put up a Facebook post that said, if anyone contacts you about Night of the Living Dead, don't ignore. I think it's a scam. And it really annoyed me because
you've veered off into the scam world now.
Never ask for money.
But this is not accent, something. So it's
what?
The Indian scams.
Yeah.
I'm Peter from New Jersey. So.
Yeah.
It's always like, this is Bill. Okay,
so
Bill.
It completely rubbed me the wrong way. So I responded to that guy's email again, saying, "Hey, this person said that this is a scam. This isn't. These are all the things that I'm doing. Take 2 seconds. Go to the website. This is what Sharon Carroll said. Go to the official Night of the Living Dead." I never got a response back. But then when I went to the Facebook again to look at the comments, someone said, oh, I didn't know that like she was in the film. No, what is it? It was something like, oh, I didn't know. I thought she was joking that she was in the film because she said she was the one eating the bark from the tree. And immediately I knew it was like, it's BS. Like I spent all this time, and the person like, but who? Like it's Marilyn Eastman. It's not it's not bark. It's a bug.
Obvious one. That's not somebody else.
Yeah.
It's like
So
the
I
most
know,
obvious one.
Yeah. So I know not even to bother with that, but like, why would this person just make this thing up for no reason?
Wow.
I don't know. I mean, people will make up anything to chase clout these days. I guess I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a hell of a class. Like I was in Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah, and the problem is some of the things that I found were true, so I have to pretty much treat that Super 8 footage that I found was from a random comment that was on Facebook. So like, you have to vet every one of them out, and even to on the opposite side. Like the things that we're trying to say, that we're honoring these people. So a couple of weeks ago, we put up Paul Kaufman, who was a Forest Hills police officer in the film. And I found his obituary, and it says in the obituary that he appeared in Night of the Living Dead, and I knew exactly who it was. I contacted a family member that brought me to his wife, Rose. And, I talked to her. She was very sweet and everything. She gave me all the information. And then, before we put up Paul, well, actually when we did, I sent her the email and said, we put him on the website. No, thank you so much. And she sent me a message like the next day that said something like, and she's 90 years old. I tried printing out because one of the photos was one of the like new photos that got put out there by the archives. So I was like, oh, there's no way that she ever saw this. This is a great photo of her husband. So we'll include that and some other stuff. So she tried to print it out and couldn't. Could you help me out with that? And I was like, well, I don't know if I can really help out. Then I realized Jim takes care of all of these photos for the actors. So he said, we can just get Jim to print out these really photos, really good sort of glossy. We'll just send them to you. Mm-hmm. And he's like, yeah, sure. Send me her message, her address and whatever. For no reason. This is not something that we need to do, but that's what these are the nice things that we're trying to do. And then someone says, oh, I think it's a scam, without taking the 2 seconds to actually
you got to think it's like, how many times in their lifetime has somebody reached out to them about this one moment in their life, 50 something years ago. I'm sure they do think well, what do these people know? Like,
the thing is,
and everybody's super paranoid about everything now. So it's like,
well, that's what I mean. It was like everyone in the family, not anyone took.
That's the thing too. That's the thing too. A lot of the times it's probably younger members of the family. Like, oh, who's texting you? Like, don't text back. That's probably a scam.
Yeah, but again, we have all of this information. That's why I said, I assure you, we're not asking for money. Take 2 seconds to go on the website, and you'll.
But you got to think of it in their terms. It's almost like, why would somebody put that much work into finding me? Because I haven't thought about that in years. It was just a small thing that I did, blah blah. And now somebody's coming at you with all this information. It's like, oh, how do they know this? No,
because
you'd be great at scamming people, John. To be honest with you.
No, see, the difference is the people that were in the film appreciate it. Like Sharon, she goes, "Oh, I didn't think that anyone really cared." And that's what I mean. Like, it's like, no,
most of them do. Most of them do. But I can totally see how, an 80-year-old person with their great grandchildren would be like, "Oh, that's just a scam, Mamaw. Like, don't message them back."
Yeah. Well, the thing is, that person wasn't in the film anyway, so I don't know if they were just trying to backtrack or whatever. I don't know, but
it could be. That could be.
It's like my dad. My dad's had his credit card information stolen 10 fucking times because he keeps clicking on the Amazon link that gets texted to him. You know what I mean? It's like, it's the same thing. It's
your UPS order has been stalled at the.
Exactly.
Click here to get it
I do everything I can. Like, call me. Do it. Here's my phone number. Here's my email. Do all this stuff. Meet me halfway. There's not much more we could do. I don't know. I guess they find it weird that I am taking that much time to do, but it's to honor them. And most of the people that I found, and one of the officers that I found, it took me so long to find them, and their family was so appreciative. They go, and then here are all the photos of your family member on set. Mm-hmm. So now you can show them to, to your family and stuff like that, and they're always appreciative. So that one just rubbed me the wrong way, just instantly.
I figure like a majority of people would be like kind of tickled by it, like, oh wow, like I'm being recognized for something that I'd never really thought I'd be recognized for. But there is going to be that like 1% of people that are just like, what do you want? Like,
and that's the one.
And that's another thing too, is I mean, even if there's a handful of people that you can't find or locate or whatever, look at all the other people that you found up to this point. It's fucking incredible, dude. I mean, you're gonna have stragglers that you can't get a hold of. It's just gonna happen.
I'm telling you, you're gonna have to like compile it in a book or something. I mean, there's a lot of work.
That's the problem. Like maybe if for Living Dead Weekend they want me to talk about it or something, I could. I don't know why they would, but like for a book, I don't think it would be that exciting because it's really just like
I'd fucking buy it. I'm telling you.
Me too.
Yeah, and Matt knows I don't read shit, but I'll read that.
He knew Robert Stack. It's Unsolved Mysteries. You know,
I'd rather it be put somewhere like in an official Image 10 book as like as an addendum. I don't know for what, but it's really not that exciting. It's just a lot of research in the way. That's why I don't have any information that you guys don't. It's not like I have some secret sort of thing. It's just
putting in the work and knowing where to look and finding the process of finding through. That's the hardest thing about doing anything is figuring out the process to do it. Like when I started doing the YouTube channel, like I didn't know what the fuck I was doing, but just doing it, like I was like, okay, here's my process. Like this is what I want to do. Like on Wednesday, I need to research. Thursday, I need to figure out a thumbnail. And then I was just like, then it just becomes like a normal thing to me. And I hear
better
that
like, way too.
Yeah, that's how you have to do it, or there's just
that's
chaos.
That's how I learned to write a book. I just started doing it, got it published. In the story.
The defense of the paranoid scam people, that people are paranoid about all this stuff right now because it's getting worse and worse. As an IT guy, I know how to look for all this stuff. It's pretty silly, but I recently went across the Bay Bridge. I have the Fast Pass thing here for auto billing for tolls. And I got a text like the next day about my crossing there and looked like, oh, the toll didn't go through, please pay here. And it looked completely legit. I had to actually do a web search to find that it was a new scam, but it was so well done. One of the best scams I've ever seen. So I can see people being freaked out because it's usually so obvious, like a bad URL, a weird IP address, some other kind of weird stuff that's silly. And this was like, this looked really good. Even the landing page looked good.
But all I'm asking for is like, can you identify her in the film because we'd like to add a bio of her on the website? It's not. We don't ask for. That's why it's like I don't know where you're getting. I can understand the essence of a scam, but we never talk about money. And even
everything is a scam now. Compared to
yes,
what people think.
It still rubbed me the wrong way. So the heck with those people, and they're not in the film anyway. So as soon as I saw that, I said, okay, I can just erase.
It didn't matter in the end.
And honestly, it's going to get to the point where, like, if I have a name, and even if you don't tell me, I'm pretty sure I can be able to find. There's like that few people left that it's like, well, this must be you. You know? So it still adds you to it. Just we're trying to include you in this. Like, oh, if you want to write something, about your family member or something, this is the space to do it. So. For everybody that I meet that's still alive, I tell them, if you want to write a bio for yourself or for your parent or whatever, like, do so. It makes it easier for me because then I don't have to do it, So that's why I try to include them with it, and that's it. Just we want to add you so we know who you are. Thank you.
Brandon with a cool comment here. This does feel like a halfway to Living Dead weekend hangout session. That's what I should have named it. Halfway to Living Dead. Ed, have you ever been to Living Dead weekend, man?
I have not.
Are you going this year?
I'm really going to think about it now.
There is no
wrong
answer
about it. The wrong answer is yes, I'm going.
There is no try, only do, right?
That's right.
I feel when I'm on the way, I can jam the Night Rider soundtrack.
There you go.
There you go.
I'm so glad I went last year because I was afraid about this year. It looks like it may still go. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think it's. I mean, I don't foresee anything happening this year. But one of the things that I was saying is even if there isn't a mall left anymore, I still feel like there's a community that'll get together and celebrate every year somewhere.
Yeah, we'll figure
somewhere
out
in Pittsburgh.
I mean, because even before they were doing the mall, it was an Evans City event. They'd have it, the cemetery and the outdoor.
Everyone gathered at the cemetery.
Yeah.
Or the apartment buildings.
Yeah.
Well, if anybody could figure out to know exactly where those were, but I think those were torn down.
Yeah, they're gone.
Oh, wow.
That's what
Gone
that guy
apartment
said.
buildings?
Yeah, they're gone. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, those were gone a long time ago.
John Rice said they were torn
Oh,
down.
wow. Okay.
The Glen Hazel projects, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. We
That's
got
why
a
they
chat
were
here real
used.
quick. Larry saying it's the most fun we'll have standing up. There you go.
I think it's worth for it.
Grande's in the house. What's up, Grande? Good to see you. Everybody saying hello. Brandon Salisbury's in the house. His movie, George A. Romero's Resident Evil, is going to be available on streaming on all kinds of different fucking platforms. What is it, the 7th? So
yeah, I think it's the 7th.
Something like that. So very, very much looking forward to that.
Oh yeah, I can't wait.
Bonnie's in the house. What's up, Bonnie? Good to see you.
Hello, Bonnie.
Larry's wanting us to rip up some slip covers. It's a thing going on Dead Pit right now. So apparently people are going into a lot of debt right now, buying physical media and spending money on just slip covers alone. So Rambo Raff on the channel has decided to take it upon himself to just start tearing them up live on the stream, just to piss as many people off as he can.
Just to piss people off. Can you fill me in on this? I don't know what you're talking about. Because it's funny because I'm you look at Matt's whole setup, and then I have 7 copies of the film and the board game, and that's about it. So that's not my thing. What is that all about?
Oh man, where to start? So physical media now is a real niche thing on YouTube. What's what they call blue tubers. It's people. There are a group of people that will literally buy physical releases, Blu-rays, 4Ks, just to show them, just to say,
just to have, right? Like an IG, like an Instagram post or something.
Hey, I just got this Bruiser 4K, and blah blah blah. They'll never watch it. They don't know anything about the movie, but it's just all about I own this now. So some people in this world are going $30,000-$40,000 in debt, just buying all this shit that they don't, just so they can come on their channel, hold it up, and say, "Look what I bought." So that is kind of snowballed. Or Dead Pit Radio. Check out them on YouTube. They have a guy on there, Rambo Raff. So they've been talking about it. And Rambo's just why? I don't understand. These people spend all this money on these fucking things, and they never watch it. They don't care, and they're worried about the slip covers and the slip cases and all this stuff. And so he's like, I don't give a shit about what the covers look like or anything. I just care about the movie. I just want to watch the movie. So he just starts pulling out all these slip covers and just tearing them up into pieces. And it's driving people insane right now.
Yeah.
All right. See, I'll use this Scott Steiner reference, one of my favorite. I have no sympathy for those people because it's very it's the same thing.
It's a bad thing.
It's a competition.
Start your YouTube channel. And when you start your YouTube channel, if your YouTube channel is the success of it is only based on what you're buying and showing off, you're just buying just to have content to make YouTube videos, and that's a surefire way to go into fucking unnecessary debt.
I was always
covers. They're annoying.
I was always a quality versus quantity person. I have a bunch of rare NES games because I always loved NES. But some people I have to get this and I have to get that and I have to get, and then they start buying stuff just because I think this is rare and I have to have this for whatever reason. It's you guys are just completely missing the point of getting all this stuff, and they're spending all this money for stuff they don't want just to check off something. So I guess it's the same thing with.
It's a dick measuring contest. It's a competition.
It's all it is.
What's that one gold NES cartridge that everyone's going crazy over?
World Championship.
I stuck with only games that were actually released in this one, and I got some really crazy rare stuff. But there's also other stuff that I was all right. So I have a variant of my favorite NES, one of my favorite NES games, Mega Man. It's what they call a 5-screw Mega Man, and I bought it for $500. And it's one of the most money I've ever spent on a cartridge because I really wanted that one, and I love that game. It's a rare variant, and I wouldn't care about it. And I have it, and I still have it. The game is actually 5 figures now for that variant.
Wow.
I don't know who's paying for this thing. For me, that was a lot of money, but I bought it because I really wanted it.
Talking about it. Yeah, we were talking about it today at my family. My sisters had a baby shower today, so that's what I spent all my day doing. I was down there helping with that and all that. But we were talking about just all the old VHS tapes and stuff we used to have. We need to find those because they're up in storage somewhere. And it's like so many of those are going for ridiculous money now. Like even Blu-rays. Like I know the 28 Days Later Blu-ray right now, which is out of print, is going for anywhere from $100 to $300 on eBay right now. Like it's pretty insane.
Yeah, my kid just let me know that a copy of Silent Hill 2, which I've got somewhere in my fucking attic, is like worth $200 or $300 right now. So I'm I've looked and looked and looked, but I can't find it. It's up there somewhere. I know it is.
Resident Evil 2, if you have the original Resident Evil 2, I still have that too, and then that's going for some pretty big money now too.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
The point that I wanted to make was that $500 to spend on that cartridge that I really wanted was much easier to spend than, let's say, $100 on a game that I really didn't want, but I had to just like save.
But had to get to say, yeah.
I collect a lot of Betamax tapes. That's my main collector.
What's up, Brian? What's up, Brian?
And by the way, John, this is about 30 years worth of shit, and it's all crammed into one spot because this is the only place in the house I can put it. My wife will not let me have any other space except for this tiny fucking office. So
I have my room and everything else. That's what when we bought this house, and I was like, oh, there's a little upstairs area here. I'm like, I'll take this. You can have the rest of the house. You can do whatever the hell you want with the rest of the house. Like
I've actually got
my
my entire ceiling is command stripped with posters. Like the whole fucking ceiling. Like I don't have anywhere else to put this stuff, so this is where it goes.
Same. I got some. I gotta put more up because I got a shitload of posters just sitting over in a corner right now, which is.
So it's a shrine of necessity. You can there has to be there.
I always told myself, I was like, don't get to the point where you just have shit just in boxes and just in a corner. Like always have it out. Like if you can't fit it, like don't buy it. Or if you want it, and buy it and sell something else just so you can make room to buy it. Right. But I'm at that point now where I have more shit than I know what to do with. And
I have this shelf over here. You could see, and it was like if I finish that, that's about it. So and I mean, there's some big stuff on there, but it was like
it's a healthy. You have a healthy setup.
That was my like frames. Like I have to get what's in here, and then that's it. I have a drawer for like some cheaper stuff, but like I haven't bought anything in like 10 years, and the prices of some of that stuff. It's like, well, I don't even know why anyone would even start now because they're more expensive than ever. But I think if you set some sort of limitation, that's okay. Like every copy of Dawn that I have, without, like maybe a couple here and there, I got pretty much the day that it was released. I don't have anything else. It was like, I just have to, the new Ultimate Edition. I got that. And the Blu-ray when I got it.
Brandon is saying, I'll start cutting people's videos that haven't gone to Living Dead Weekend. Romero card revoked. You got to catch up, Ed. But speaking of Living Dead Weekend,
not to make it a peeing contest, but I have a whole cabin out back filled with my movie memorabilia.
Oh,
so I don't have a room. I have a cabin out back.
There you go.
Not to make it a peeing contest, but let's put that out there.
We were just talking about how people make this shit a competition, and here you go. Well, mine's bigger than yours.
You guys have rooms. I have a cabin of shit.
And I do make YouTube videos of my collection, but it's stuff I love. That's the difference.
You do. Like, how much stuff do you have in your collection? I know I was watching you're doing some videos. Do you have a lot of like VHS stuff of like just shit that you record? Because I saw you posted something with like like a Knight Riders HBO promo and all this other stuff. I'm like, this is awesome. Like, because that's the stuff I love to watch. Is like, because it takes me back. Because like I'm trying to remember like on IFC back in the day when they were playing Dawn of the Dead. That there was it was like 2001, I want to say, where they were playing Night of the Living or Dawn of the Dead on IFC, and they had Johnny Rotten introduce it. And I always remember that. And I've always wanted, like, I used to have that on VHS somewhere, but it's been long gone over the years. But I'd love to see that again. Do you have that, perhaps? Because I will
have to look. I've been trading tapes since the 90s, so I got stacks and stacks everywhere.
I just remember Johnny Rotten was just like, Dawn of the Dead. It's all about shopping and zombies and American consumerism. And you know what? I don't remember one specific scene about that film, but I think that's kind of the charm of it.
I think that clip was on YouTube at one point. I'm going to have a look.
I've looked. I don't know if I've ever found it, but I would love to see that again because
I seem to recall seeing that somewhere. I do.
I like when other people have that stuff because it's new to me, and I could say, "Oh, like you know, Larry's helped me out finding specific things that I was looking for. I don't know how to have them all, but if I'm looking for something like, hey, do you have the? Oh, that's what it looks. Okay, I'm gonna go, you know, pick that up.
Lois, what's going on, Lois? Great stream. Anything, George Romero, for all of you? When was the first time you saw Dawn of the Dead? Ed, that'll be a good starting place for you. When was the first time you saw Dawn of the Dead?
I was 8 years old. That'd be 1993. I always grew up watching Night of the Living Dead because everybody had that on tape, right? And an older cousin was like, "You like that one? We gotta check this one out." He showed me Dawn. Wow. And he also had Day, the original media version of it. Watch that. Mind blown. One of the few movies I stood up and clapped for in the living room. It was great.
By yourself, you're just like, "Yep, that was a movie."
Yeah.
It's funny. Day. The first time I saw Day, I didn't like it at all because I just watched Dawn and I was like, man, this is not as fun. It's not as cool. It's just people in a cave screaming at each other. Like, But over the years, like I've grown to really love it. Synth, what about you, man? The first time you saw it, first run in theater?
Yeah,
actually, I didn't. I wish I had because I saw The Omen in theater and some other stuff in the late '70s, but we found it in a video store. I really didn't even know much about Night of the Living Dead back then. I mean, they would play around Halloween and stuff on TV, and so it was around, but I just didn't know. It was part of the zeitgeist, but I didn't really know much about it. And then we just were combing the video stores. I mentioned this on the Goblin thing we talked about, and Deep Red and all these other things in the store. And he said, "What's this with the guy rising up?" It's the Thorn EMI cover, right? Mm-hmm. So like, what's this? This looks interesting. And we saw the back, and we go, you know, it just like guns and zombies and stuff. Oh, this looks like fun. Let's check this out. And ended up being obviously one of my favorite movies of all time. So much so that we rented it. It was like 1983. We rented it. Just part laughing our asses off, part like this is amazing, right? It's like it's good, but it's also funny. Like the violence was so funny. And like someone's getting shot in the face on the Scirocco, and like we're just laughing our asses off. And my mom had just made us some sandwiches, and we're just sitting back and just laughing our asses off. And this is back. I don't know. My brother might have started this in the drive-in. We used to go to the drive-in. I had a boombox going with a tape, so I actually have audio of us laughing our asses off watching Dawn of the Dead.
That's awesome.
I'd love to hear that.
We did that for Evil Dead, a whole bunch of movies. So I have all these crazy old tapes of us laughing at these stupid movies.
Be laughing hysterically at people being mutilated on screen.
Yeah, and we're just laughing our ass off and eating. We're not grossed out in any way. It was the funniest damn thing ever. So yeah, 1983. Yeah. So
that's awesome. What about you, Matt?
Well, for me, it was the first one that I saw was Day of the Dead, and I know I've talked about it before, but I had a pen pal, and we were writing back and forth, and she said her favorite movie was Night. And I went to the video store to try to find it. Couldn't find it, but I found Day. And I'm like, this is close enough. Let me try to find some common ground, right? I had no idea who Romero was yet. And I went home and watched it and had my fucking mind blown. It was so gross and disgusting, and the tone was heavy, and it was so dark. So I had to go find more from this director and find more of this type of film. And I found Dawn right after that. And I just remember it was like the complete fucking opposite of Day. Like it was upbeat, it was fucking cool, it was fun, it was action. Yeah. So I was probably about 12 or 13 when I first saw Dawn, and immediately like Day has kind of always been my favorite, but then Dawn kind of eclipsed it, and they kind of go back and forth and fight in my head. But
just depending on your mood, when you're really bummed out and irritated, you're just like, I want to watch Day of the Dead and watch people fucking scream at each other.
Oh yeah, and I remember too, being a kid and being like, oh my god, like who doesn't love the idea of being stuck in a fucking mall and killing zombies and then you know, barricading it up and having everything you want at your fingertips, which is the point of the movie, right? But
that was the selling point for me because like Resident Evil was kind of my introduction to the zombie genre. Mm-hmm. So when somebody told me it's like, oh, there's a zombie, you know, movie that takes place in a mall, I was like, holy shit, because we're talking, you know, it's the 90s and shopping malls are still like the place to be. And I was just like, holy shit, that's perfect. And it was like one of those movies where, so, you know, when you hear the concept of a movie and then you watch it and you're like, oh, it's a cool concept, but it missed. It's like, oh, a zombie movie in a mall. Like if it was what I kind of expected, like even as a kid was just like, oh, it's going to be a movie and it'll take place in a mall for like 30 minutes. That'll be where the finale takes place. You know, just it'll end in the mall. Like that'll be cool. But the fact that this movie was everything that I had hoped it would be, where it would be like it takes place in the mall, like they kill all the zombies in the mall, then they take over the mall, and then they have everything they want. And you see them enjoying everything, doing all the stuff that I would love to do. And then at the end, the finale with this bikers riding through the mall, you're just like, holy shit, this movie just keeps going and going. It's everything you would want in a movie that somebody would describe to you as, oh, it's a zombies in a mall movie. Like it's everything you want. Like
it's one of those films that it just kicks so much ass. It just doesn't stop kicking ass. Like there's that one little part after they clear the mall where it's kind of slow, and then it just fucking kicks ass again.
But even that part I love, because that's
right.
That's my fantasy, is like I have a mall to myself. I can go to any store. I can take whatever I want. I can do whatever I want. If I want to, ice skate, or if I want to, play with fucking basketball and JCPenney's or whatever, it's like
I want to play with lipstick and a gun, right? So
exactly, and that was one of the only movies I've ever seen where I kind of explain it like the movie should really end after they go through and kill all the zombies and clean up. And it's like, okay, mission accomplished. We've taken over the mall. Everything is achieved. Our goal is achieved. And that's really the end of the movie. For most movies, like that would be the end. The good guys win. But then it goes even farther. It's like, okay, well, now that the goal is accomplished, now you get to see them enjoy the spoils of their hard work or whatever, and then you get to see them get bored with it, and then you get to see it all go to hell again, and then it gets worse than it was before, and it's just like it's like, God, where's this movie fucking gonna go? But what about you, John? What about you? The first time you saw Dawn?
Oh, it was 1996. I was 13. I was just renting random stuff out of Blockbuster. It was the first time I saw Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Halloween 2. I can't really remember the timeline. I'm pretty sure that I saw Halloween before any of George's films, because I want to say that I was familiar with Night of the Living Dead, like the cemetery stuff from Halloween 2.
Yeah,
and
that's probably the first time I ever saw anything from Night of the Living Dead was from Halloween 2.
And I can't remember.
You want mayonnaise on your sandwich? How about mustard?
Mustard. But I think I saw Dawn first before Night and Day, and it was love at first sight. I remember my father calling from work, and it's like the only time I remember like seeing something and saying like, I just saw the coolest movie. They're like these zombies and you're in a mall, and it was just cool. Everything about it clicked with me. The music, the image, everything. It was violent, but it was funny. Everything about it it clicked 100%. So it's pretty much been like that since 1996. And then I saw Night, and I loved it. And Day, I was, I loved the special effects. The acting was fine, but like I said, that music kind of sours.
What? Dude, come on.
The anti-John Harrison gang.
Oh man!
Listen, I got nothing against him. He did fantastic work in.
Is it John Harrison or Sputsy Sparacino? Is that?
I just learned the ending song,
Williams,
"The World Inside Your Eyes," like the chord progression. That's actually really smart. I was like, I wonder if I should do something with this. But I was thinking, same thing with like Night 90, because it's not like I hate everything that's in it. I wonder if I could just pick out the stuff that I like and like do my own cut of the film, where I remove some of the music that I don't think works and put in some of the music that I think is better, and how I would feel about that. It's too much work, but like it's not like I hate everything. But George wanted that Caribbean feel. I was never a fan of that. I also
synth toms. You don't like the synth toms?
Yeah, just even the it's very diatonic thirds, bloop, 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 which is very harmonically uninteresting to me. And even the sounds themselves sometimes can be very generic.
I love it because it's such a cohesive score. Like, whereas Dawn's kind of all over the place. Like, it's got the Goblin stuff, it's got the library stuff. But I love it for what it is. I love all of it. But for me, Day is kind of like, and it does that on the Dead Suite, I think, is where it's like the 20-minute. You can literally listen to the.
Right.
It's like listening to the whole movie all the way through. It's like from the start, you can kind of imagine the movie as you're listening to the song all the way through. So I've always appreciated that aspect of it. But
with Dawn, what I love, there's such a, I've been using this word a lot, pastiche of different
big
textures.
Word.
Yeah. There's like the weird synth stuff. There's like I love the extended cut. So like Broody Moody Judy, like Weird Dream, Neurotic Bird, like the stuff that you're hearing when the Hare Krishna zombies attacking Fran, they're like, I love that because it's not like harmonic, it's more feel. And actually what I just bought, finally, no one knows what to get me for Christmas, and this guitar student of mine gave me $100, and just like 3 days later, I got
$100, I'll take it.
Yeah. But I put it right to use because I finally got the Cosmogony Dramaturgy record. It's my favorite one. And Jim is going to, I think, give me a bunch of his doubles for some of the work that I've done. And he doesn't have that one. And I was looking for it. And I love that, like, everything off of that record is just so cool. And like the John Harrison stuff is so, it's just so flat. Yeah. I like this because all the Dawn library music, and they really picked the best of the best. Because if you have some of those records, you'd be surprised. Like the stuff that they didn't use really was kind of junk. Like it's really funny.
Have you ever listened to the Donald Rubinstein?
No, I know about it though. I would be curious to.
I love Donald Rubinstein. Like I love his scores, but man, that I couldn't. I've listened to it a few times. I was like, God, that would have just this music would have ruined Donald. And honestly, I think George kind of knew that and was just kind of like, all right, I'm just gonna try this library music over here, Don. I appreciate it. I'll bring you back for Night Riders, then you can do a fucking masterpiece, But
fantastic for Night Riders. But the acoustic piece, Cantando, whatever it's called. Yeah. If you have that record, Mindbender, it's kind of like a rare DeWolf one. Everything off of that is terrible. Every track doesn't make any sense. It's like this weird, like 60s, like you would think Austin Powers, but the music is played badly. And then you have this one track that sticks out of nowhere. Yeah, I was really surprised how awful it was. But they really picked the best of the best. In fact, I actually talked to Gornick recently. I sent him an email about how they were able to blend the music so beautifully together. And Jim and I talked about this. I was surprised because he had the same thought. Like at the end of Dawn, you have the what's it called? It's Dramatic Moments, number 4, I think, with the swelling strings, blah, 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 and then you have the weird blah 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 blah, and then it goes right into the gonk. That whole piece is seamless, and it's from 3 different pieces of music. And on top of that, the weird chords that are used then are at the end of like a 4-minute piece. So I'm like, how did you guys know where to use these tracks? Because like a regular director would just say, oh, we need weird music here, and they would just say, this is where the track starts and this is where it ends, and that's it. But they blended like the middle part of like this song into the, how did they do that?
That's the beauty of like George's editing. Like everybody talks about his like video, like the film editing aspect, but the sound, like editing the music and stuff like that.
Like the opening stinger of Dawn is all those layers and this perfect mix. It's just amazing.
Yeah, it sounds cohesive. Like it sounds like one thing, and then you hear it's like, oh, it's 4 pieces of different things blended together. Like I don't know. Can you think of any other editor, director, anybody that kind of used library music like that? And they wouldn't just drop it in, but would just kind of morph it and play with it to create some other thing almost. Like I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but I don't really know anything as well as I know Romero's stuff, I guess. But
I mean, the people who do that is like a Ben Burt guy, not a director, right?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like I've always thought, like when you think of a director, like I feel like every good director has a mastery in some other aspect of the art form, whereas George was a master editor. I feel like more so than a masterful director. Rob Zombie is a name that I think of when they think, oh, Rob Zombie, the director. I'm like, no, it's really Rob Zombie, the production designer. Like when you see Rob Zombie film, you can tell. Or Dario Argento is like Dario Argento, the director. I feel like he's like his strong suit is actually camera, like cinematography. Like Argento knows how to move a camera and tell a story through camera movement. every great director is stronger in some other aspect. You know,
John is also good at looking scared too. So.
You said what?
He's good at looking scared.
Oh yeah. His daughter looks good.
And you're absolutely right. And to the point that I had driven Christine Romero from a convention from New Jersey to where she lived, and we were stuck in traffic. And I was like, well, this is great because I want to talk about, did George ever play any instruments? Because as a musician, I feel like he had an ear for it. Now, he never really played anything, but I feel like if he ever like picked up the guitar or the piano, that he would be phenomenal at it because he had that natural instinct. And you can tell because the pieces of music that he puts together, even though he doesn't know, let's say, harmonically why it works, it still works where it sounds cohesive. It means it's in there somewhere. And I was always impressed by that. And it's like, did he ever say, I really want, I come home and I, play the piano or anything like that? And as far as I could tell, he never took the guitar and played the
I feel like George could kind of be like a Rick Rubin type where he doesn't really know how to play anything, but he has a good ear for music and can kind of tell what would work and what wouldn't.
He has taste.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of people that can't compose the music. They can't play the instrument, but they know what sounds good and they know where it would fit and sound well. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And Rick Rubin, to me, is that guy because Rick Rubin can't play a lick of shit, but Rick Rubin's kind of the guy. And I've listened to bands that have worked with Rick Rubin that is like, yeah, Rick Rubin really doesn't know anything about like the engineering or the mastering aspect of it, but he can listen to something and tell you like, oh, don't do that. Or do this instead, or do, change this part. And I feel like George would be kind of good in that role to listen to a piece of music and be like, let's do something different over here, man. Well,
he also was a fan of classical and jazz and soundtrack music, which makes a lot of sense because that music is usually more expressive without like the lyrics telling you what to do. So that's what I mean. Usually if you like that kind of music, there's a good chance that you're probably a musician. It's much rarer to have people that like listen to that kind of stuff that aren't musicians, because they sort of need to be told how to feel in the song with the lyrics or like the overall tonality, not so much like,
So I listen to music a lot. Like to me, music is cinematic. To me, like the music that I love is like music that like when I do my little intro videos and shit, when I put music to it, like I hear that song and I can visualize like, like a scene from a movie that I would put this in, or a credit sequence. Like I've always loved credit sequence. I love a good credit sequence. The good use of music in movies. Like that's always a big thing to me.
Well, with George, you think his Cuban ancestry has something to do with it? Because Cubans have some great music down there. It just comes natural to them. It seems like his
Yeah.
He just had that kind of natural, sort of Latino sort of.
George was just like an artist, like a real artist. He could write, he could draw, obviously he could direct, he could do all these things, maybe not play an instrument. And I think there's some sort of connection. Like I know Nirvana stuff really well. Kurt was a songwriter, but he couldn't play the instrument that well. He could do what he needed to do, but he had that ear for it. But he also was a great artist, and like when he did the videos, he had like, he wanted Come As You Are to look like this because he could see it in his head. He wanted the album cover to look like this. So it's like whatever gene that is, it's not all like all your eggs aren't in one basket. Like I can only paint and I can't do anything else. It seems to be spread amongst all the other arts. And I think that's
like the guitarist from Tool does all those amazing videos. He's an animator and
Actually, what's funny is that, speaking of Kurt Cobain, I think he wrote somewhere in his journals or something that he was like annoyed by it because there was another artist that was doing the same thing, and he thought that Adam Jones was ripping him off or ripping his brothers off. I don't know if that's true or not, but
fucking Tool.
It's just funny they just work together.
I can't see Kurt Cobain doing stop motion animation.
No, it was he knew of like a group of brothers that were already doing that.
Oh, that's okay, right.
Yeah, so it was like, he's ripping off what these guys did, 6 years ago.
Yeah.
But you were talking about how music can be cinematic, and what I was going to say a minute ago is that's one of the things that was cool to me, like seeing Trent Reznor transition from Nine Inch Nails to Scores.
Yeah,
was like the Downward Spiral is a very cinematic record to me. When I hear that, it sounds like a movie.
It's funny you say that because when I would make movies in high school, I would use a lot of Nine Inch Nails and a lot of stuff from the Downward Spiral, and it always sounded cinematic to me. So when he did fucking, Social Network, I was like,
with Atticus is a big input. on there.
Yeah, Atticus Ross too. Yeah.
It's like Stuart Copeland from The Police. He does film work these days.
Yeah,
he's great at it too. He takes the Police songs, rearranges them for orchestra. They sound amazing if you haven't heard them yet.
They do, because I hear that a lot now. Is like in trailers where they take like old songs and slow it down and make it orchestra.
Yeah,
like Mad World.
Yeah. Well, God, they did that years ago for Jimmy Darko. Brandon's saying Matt is a cool dude. I agree.
Thanks, man. You too. I really appreciate it.
Matt is a cool dude.
Yeah, thanks.
Brian's asking Richard France, wasn't he confirmed for Night? I don't know, John. Was he confirmed for Night?
Well, he said he was in it, but
Brandon's saying Richard said he was on set as an extra, but that he isn't physically shown in the movie. He was pretty upfront about it and hesitated to sign another Living Dead poster for my friends.
Like nobody else has been able to confirm that though, right? Like even other people that were on the set have said that he wasn't there.
Yeah, nobody has really confirmed that at all. Like he has, and it's funny because Richard France is the kind of guy that I feel like would not, like we were talking about people that would just say things just to chase clout or whatever. Richard France is like the opposite. He's like, I'm nobody. Like, why do you want my autograph? He's that kind of guy. So I don't think he would make that up to just say like, oh yeah, I was in that too. I don't feel like he needs that validation.
Good try, guys.
Grande says France was really nice to meet. We talked about New York for a little bit. It's where he got his start.
I think he lives upstate.
Yeah, I think he's still living in New York, right?
Yeah.
Brand's saying Richard's insanely nice, really engaging person. It was a treat.
Yeah. He was another one of those guys that when I met him and I wanted to have my photo with him, he insisted that my family be in the picture with us. Like he wanted to have that whole family together. So he's such a good dude.
Did he do the dummies, dummy speech for you?
He didn't do the speech for me, but of course that's how he signed my Dawn poster.
I'll tell you what. It came from a very credible source that Richard France, the last time he was at Living Dead Weekend, was actually the most popular guest out of everybody.
Because he doesn't do a whole lot. Like I've seen him, he was at Weekend of the Dead over in the UK.
But more popular than like some of the other bigger names, from what I was told.
Well, he's he's great in the movie. He's got the iconic, dummies. I mean, a lot of his fucking dialogue in that movie is iconic, and it's a lot of that dialogue. That dialogue was a part of Dawn of the Dead since its inception. Like when George wrote that original treatment in the early 70s. Almost word for word, Richard France's dialogue is in that original treatment and it's carried over all the way through. So I think that's pretty cool. It's one of the only things that's still carried over from that original treatment.
Plus, way he gets excited when he figures out the cure. Maybe here it is. I got to run. I got that energy to him.
Yeah,
as well.
In the Crazies, yeah, he's great in the Crazies.
Oh my God, this is it. Oh my God,
But see, the question was always, and Larry brought this up. We were talking about the Crazies one time. He was like, "Well, I never thought of it, but did he actually find the cure, or was he actually going crazy too?"
Right.
And we don't really know, And I was like, "Wow, I really never thought of it that way." But yeah, it's a good point.
I was
certainly sloppy to get caught. Yeah.
I was always under the impression that like he did find the cure, and that was the irony that they lumped him in as a crazy and got lost. Just
very
like
Romero move, right?
But you just don't know. Yeah. Brandon says, I buy to watch. I actually pissed off some game collectors, bought a $30 game that was rare, opened it to play it, would be worth $900 if still sealed.
What game was it? I'm curious to know what game that was.
It's a good question. Or what game that is. I might have it. Will, what's up, man? Will Phelps is in the hizzy. Hey, brothers, what's up? Just got back from the Caribbean, man. Taking the cruise out into the Caribbean. Getting juiced
he was
up
having a great time.
Soaking up some sunshine.
Soaking up some sunshine.
Guess who's back? Will is back. Larry saying. Let's see. Rick, the North Going Llama. What's up, man? Hello, Walt, says Rick. Good to see you, Rick. I'm a little behind on the comments here. Let me try to catch up through as many of these as I can. Larry saying cosmogony and dramaturge. How do you pronounce that? Dramaturgy is the great record. There you go.
I tried to find anything else Paul Lemel did because I wanted to hear more of his stuff, and I couldn't find it unless it was just a pen name for another. Like that was just not his real name. And a couple of people like Jack Tromby is not his real. That's not his real name. A lot of the Wolf guys use different names. But I would love to find any more of Paul Lemel stuff.
Love us with another good question here. Another key question between George's cut of the film and Dario's cut. Which one is your favorite, Ed?
George.
George.
Yeah.
George.
Kind of have to agree with that, yeah.
I know one guy that would say Dario's cut. I think Dirk, Subjective Perspective Collective. I think he's a fan of the Dario cut more than the George cut, but he's not a big fan of it. But yeah, it's. But what about the between the U.S. cut and the Cannes cut? Which one do you guys prefer?
Cannes.
US.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Cannes.
The opening for the U.S. cut is unbeatable.
Yeah, I do agree. Some of the music cues in the Cannes cut, definitely, I definitely prefer in the U.S. version. But as the movie as the whole, I feel like it's complete in the Cannes cut. Lois is also asking, speaking of Dario Argento, have any of you seen Suspiria? Your thoughts? Thanks again for this stream. You're very welcome, Lois. I appreciate you hanging out. Thoughts on Suspiria? Ed, we'll start with you.
Having a Blu-ray, love it. Love the soundtrack. Love all about it.
Synth?
Plain and simple.
Yeah, it's Technicolor nightmare. Just tons of violence, great score, very atmospheric, creepy ass vocal stuff for the witches. It's just the razor wire room. It's just endless. It
was actually, if you're interested in hearing more conversation about the about Suspiria, check out. There's a link down in the bottom in the description. Actually, that'll take you to the video that me, Synth, and Paul Farvour did talking about the Goblin retrospective. So we go a little bit deeper into Suspiria there. But what about you, Matt? I know you've seen Suspiria. What are your thoughts?
I love Suspiria. It's the Italian equivalent of Phantasm, right? We'll do a little switch in reverse there.
There you go.
I'll go with that.
Yeah, it's awesome. But I wasn't a huge fan of Inferno, and I never even saw Mother of Tears. So I don't know how you guys feel about those.
Inferno is one that I really like the opening, and I like it to start out with. But as it goes on, I kind of get a little distracted. I'm like, it kind of falls apart. But
yeah.
Mother of Tears is one that I did grow to really kind of dig. Here, last time I watched it, I was like, this is actually kind of cool. Like, there's some corny shit in it, but a lot of Dario's newer stuff has a lot lot of corny shit in it. So.
It does, especially the that main track, I guess, that Claudio Simonetti did with was it Danny Filth from Cradle of Filth? Right? Wasn't he on that?
Yeah.
I can't fucking stand that shit, dude. It's terrible.
If he did, I don't know if he did it at your show, but when we saw Claudio's Goblin, he opened with Mother of Tears.
He did.
Like that was
He did. After Demons, that was the first track, and I was like, I fucking cringed. I can't stand it, dude.
This is where we're starting.
Yeah.
What about you, John?
I liked it. I mean, it's not like my type of movie where I'm like in love with it, but I think I had mentioned during the Goblin talk, I saw Suspiria a long time ago. Some of it kind of stuck with me, but not much. But I never really was into the music by itself. Then when I rewatched it, a few weeks ago, and then I saw the music with the movie, I now I get it. It to me only works. It's hard to listen to me by itself, but to me it completely works with the film. It's very beautiful to looking, all the shots and everything. But it was okay. It's not really my type. It's either for me. It's like 2% I'm in love with, 90% is that's pretty cool, and then like 8% that I just hate. So it's nothing bad against like Dario or any type of stuff. It's just how I am. But it was cool. Like if someone said that was their favorite movie, I wouldn't be like, oh.
John, have you seen the remake?
No, I haven't. I think in the past 20 years I've seen like 3 movies. I'm not even joking.
So you're really not going to have much of an opinion when we talk about the movies that we saw in 2024 that we liked, right? The last movie I saw was in 2012, probably.
I'm really trying to think. What was the last movie I saw in theaters? I know I saw like The Dark Knight Rises because a friend of mine wanted to see it, and I saw the Crystal Skull Indiana Jones movie because a friend of mine wanted to see it. But they're never movies that I want to see. It's just like, hey, you want to go see this? Okay, and I tag along. But that's really about that's about it.
Yeah.
I find that very interesting that you are so passionate about certain movies, but as in terms of film in general, you're just kind of like, eh.
Yeah.
But there's those few that you're just like,
yeah.
I have to know everything there is to know about these movies.
It's the same with music, like my Alan Holdsworth stuff. You know, I was not into him for the longest time. And then once I got into it, I put like both feet in, but I couldn't tell you, like, he's kind of like a jazz guy. Not really, but like he's associated with jazz. I don't even know a lot of like regular jazz guys. I don't have a lot of jazz records or anything, but I love his music and I know like, a ton about it. But that's how I am. If I'm like into something, I'm really into it. Elsewise, I'm very like ambivalent. Just it's okay, you know.
And you have a syntax. How cool is that?
Yeah, I think it's very cool.
Synth loves that syntax, man.
I do.
Granny says, I don't think he was going crazy. That would defeat the purpose of George's point of the film, in my opinion. Him finding the cure and then getting accidentally killed is way more George's voice.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I was saying.
I'll go with that.
Yeah, just the irony of it, yeah.
So here's something interesting. Somebody in that film was in Night of the Living Dead, and they've been hiding in plain sight. Not one of the people that I found, but someone that was already known. And I've been asking one of the guys, like, oh, we should update some of the bios, and this is something that we can add. But I was shocked by this because when I first saw this, I thought, no, there's no way that this person's in the film. And then I actually talked to the guy's daughter and said, yeah, no, that's him. And I went, what? Really? So the Crazies has a lot of interesting night crossover. And
Crazies has a lot of like the night people. And, I mean, it's such a big movie. There's so many extras that were needed. It's kind of like George loved to make fucking movies that needed a lot of extras. It's funny, like between night, dawn, Crazies, like,
and,
you know,
Ross Harris is credited in the Crazies, but I'm about 100% sure that he's not in it because I think the role that he was supposed to play went to somebody else, and that person was also in Night of the Living Dead. But I don't think they ever changed the credit because I looked for Ross Harris and I can't find him.
Wow.
Yeah, the France thing is really tragic because that would have been a happy ending, right? And George didn't want a happy ending.
No.
Yeah,
There's
not
never
a lot of
always
up
happy
endings.
endings.
Yeah.
Hey, Johnny, what's up, man? Hey, Alpha. Hey, everybody. It's 4 a.m. in Scotland. I just woke up. Glad to catch you. What's up, man? Johnny's always commenting on all the videos because he's in a different part of the world, so he never catches us live. So it's good to see him live. What's up, man? Good to see you, man. But yeah, I mean, just looking at one of the big topics that I've been kind of talking about lately. I've been hearing some things here lately. I just kind of want to get you guys' thoughts on kind of happened in 2024 from the start all the way through. Is the ongoing saga of what is going on with the mall, the Monroeville Mall. What's, it's being sold? Are there potential buyers for it? I mean, we started the year talking about the DoubleTree going out of business and now being bought again. So there's all this change and all this, stuff happening around the mall right now. What are you guys' thoughts on that? What do you think? Because we talked about Living Dead Weekend this coming up year. Looks like it's going to happen. Fingers crossed. Everything's good to go for that. But after that, just what are you guys' overall thoughts? What do you guys know about the situation? What do you guys think is going to come of it? Which, Ed, I mean, man, if you've never been to the mall, if you've never been to Pittsburgh,
maybe you better go, dude.
Chance,
be the year to do it, man.
Better go.
I go steal a brick while I'm there.
You should.
Don't get busted stealing shit, dude.
No, we have a mall where I live. People have been going inside it taking pictures and videos for the YouTube channel. The abandoned mall, Pond Bluff, Arkansas.
Oh yeah, the Dead Mall series is in there.
It still has all like kid games and stuff, and it's crazy.
Well, that's the thing. Like the Monroeville Mall is actually not doing too bad. I mean, it's still a fairly populated mall. Like things are. It's not what it used to be, but no mall is really. But it's still.
Well, if you remember when I went there, I told you how I was shocked how many stores were vacant.
Yeah, there were a lot of vacant.
Pretty shocking.
Storefronts.
Yeah, it was.
But it depends on who you talk to too. Like, I don't want to name names, but there was somebody that used to work at the mall that's constantly posting on Facebook about how it's going to shit, and then there's somebody that currently. You know what I'm talking about. There's somebody that currently works at the mall that's like, don't listen to that fucking guy. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Everything's fine. So, there's always that back and forth. But like in terms of the future, I don't think there's really any way to tell. We're just gonna have to wait it out. I mean, from what the rumor that I've heard, right, is that the people that are interested in buying it want to keep it them all. Is that what you've heard? So
from what I've heard, there are two potential buyers. The rumors, at least, there are two potential buyers that are interested, that are wanting to come look at the mall and kind of examine everything. And their intentions are to keep it a mall, which is a good thing. But again, it depends on who buys it, who owns the mall, and what are their feelings and thoughts on, embrace, which I don't see any reason why they wouldn't embrace the fandom that Dawn of the Dead brings to that mall. It brings people from around the world to a shopping mall. It's the one mall in the world that has that distinction, where people will travel hundreds and thousands of miles just to go to that mall. Like, is there another mall in the world that has, maybe the Mall of America, maybe, but like outside of that, like,
but I don't know. Yeah, I can't imagine that they don't make a lot of money on that fucking weekend. Like, I mean, I know when I'm there, I'm shopping there. My wife is shopping there.
Yeah, you're eating at the food court.
You're eating the food court. You're going to Barnes and Noble.
Even the Dopey remake doesn't have a mall to go pay homage to, right?
No,
so, right.
No.
That was already closed when they shot it. So,
well, look at Big Lots. They were down to the wire, got sold the last minute.
Yeah.
Now it's still going to be Big Lots. You never know. It's going to come down to a second. Who wants it? The area around it as well. The taxation of that area. Just a whole bunch of figures come into play. Like you said, it's so hard to tell. Just have to sit back and just wait, really.
Yeah.
That's when you want to buy it.
No,
I would.
Okay.
If I had that Nicotero money.
I don't even think Nicotero's got that kind of fucking money, right? Yeah. Wasn't it like 250 million or something?
Yeah, I don't know if he'd have the money to buy it outright, but I feel like if Greg may know could get an investor group together or something to maybe buy it. But no, Tarantino maybe, if Tarantino was like, fucking buy the mall, man.
Hey, Jackrabbit Slims. There we go.
Yeah, there you go.
That titty twister at the end. Make the Quentin Tarantino Mall of America. There we go.
But to me, like, and I know I'm a Dawn of the Dead fan, and I know it means a lot to me, and I know fans, and it means a lot to certain people, and a lot of people don't understand it and they don't get it. But it literally is one of the only malls in the world that has a built-in, like, fan base. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of malls will just come and go. Like, a lot of malls will close, and it's like, oh, I remember going there when I was a kid, and blah, blah, blah. But there's, like, it has a built-in, like, something about it that's going to
keep... And enough of it looks the same that you could recognize it, hence the tour where Larry shows off the pools.
And there's still the Living Dead Museum. There's other things to attract people to it other than just, like, oh, I want to go to Claire's and get my ears pierced. You know what I mean? Right. Like,
You know what was really, really cool, and I think I told you about this, one really cool memory that I have. The first time I visited the mall, I think it was like the last day we were there, my son wanted to go to the arcade, so we went to the arcade and we were playing zombie laser tag in the back of the mall, and it just hit me. Like, that's when it hit me, and I was the 13-year-old kid again. And I was like, me and my kid are nobody else was there. It was just him and I. And we're in the back of the Monroeville Mall with nobody around playing laser tag. And I don't know. It was just such a fucking amazing feeling.
Yeah. But then again, you got to think, like, before the people that own it now, that, the ones that are selling it before that, like the people that owned it before that didn't want anything to do with Dawn of the Dead. Right? Like, if you showed up and was like, oh, I'm here to take pictures of this, they're like, no, get out. Like, we're not doing that at all. So
I almost feel like that would be a stipulation or something in a contract or some word of mouth or something to the new buyer. They'll be like, hey, just by the way,
there's got to be something in the contract. Yeah.
Once a year, one weekend every year, a bunch of fucking crazy people show up, and just be aware. A lot of zombies and dead people.
But in a world where shopping malls are disappearing left and right, like, any reason to get people to come to the mall, I think they should just 100% embrace.
Right.
No questions asked.
I think I'm the outlier, because for whatever reason, I just didn't feel worried. I was like, okay, maybe it's just me ignoring it, But for whatever reason, I wasn't too concerned. Also, maybe because, like, Grande would know this. We have the Sunrise Mall that's right here, and it's closed, but it's still there. It's like not destroyed, and like I still see cars in there, and it's been maybe 2 years. I don't know what they're doing with it.
Well, I've heard a lot of stories lately where people are buying shopping malls and turning them into apartments.
I mentioned that
complexes.
I think it's unanimous. We're all in. I don't know about you, and I'm all in.
Oh, fuck yeah, dude! That's where we're retiring.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's like
a condo in Florida. I'm moving to an apartment in Monroeville.
Yeah.
Also,
Like
if I hadn't worried last year like I did, I wouldn't have gone because I thought this was going to happen earlier last year.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, well, especially with, the DoubleTree and everything going on there. It's like,
Yeah.
and there was the talk of them closing the convention center. And that got saved by just people saying, like, no, don't close it. Like, it's a big, like, we don't need another Hobby Lobby.
So
we
that
need
got me off my ass to go.
Mm.
And I finally went.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But that's what I mean. Like, I think the problem with the mall, is just malls in general, is that they're, like, one great thing about the original Monroeville Mall is all the different types of stores that were in there. You had clothing stores and there was food, but there was like an arcade, there was a church. I feel like that's missing, that all stores are just like crummy clothes stores. But like people still go. Like also there was like a ton of like places to eat there. Like there was a supermarket and like the cheese board. There was like places that you could go to like eat and buy stuff. Instead of just being Victoria's Secrets and clothes stores or whatever. I think people still go to stores. They just have to fill the mall with stores that people want to go to.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's
that's a lot of malls now, and I've noticed Monroeville Mall doing this too, is that they're putting like axe throwing and stuff like that in there now to like make it somewhere to go. Like if you're on a date, it's like, oh, let's go to have dinner and then let's go to the mall and go to the axe throwing play or what. I don't know about axe throwing or whatever, but like it's funny. It's like the only way we can get people to go to a mall now is to have them go into a store and throw an axe. Like it's like
but it's something that you can't buy online. Something that you have to be present for. So they have to putting an arcade in there.
And in that vein, why not just make it a full zombie experience mall? What the hell? Let's go to the zombie mall and play zombie laser tag and
I stopped going to malls when all the record stores were out of them. You lost the record stores, I was out.
Yeah.
We have a fairly vibrant and thriving mall here in Evansville. But I rarely ever go. Like I went for like Christmas this year to go Christmas shopping, but outside of that, like I just never go because I'm just like, what am I gonna go and like what am I gonna go to buy a hat at fucking Lids? Like what I don't know what to fucking do. Like I'm just out of that loop now.
Yeah.
But
I would love to find a real mall with an actual gun store in it, though. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I need to find a gunner's den. You guys got a gunner's den in here. That's what I'm looking for.
But Ed, if you've never been, man, even if the mall is around for 15 more years, I mean, you have to go. It's almost like a religious experience when you first walk in through the doors. I'm telling you, it really is.
Yeah,
I purposely went through the bikers entrance.
Yeah, that's every time I go. That's the way I go through.
That's the entrance to go in. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely worth trying. I put it off for so many years. Just saying, I can't afford it. I can't do this. And I don't want to.
It's too far away.
It's a billion miles away. It's in another world. Like I can't go to that. And then when I finally did it, I was like, shit, I'm here. And once you're there, you're like, why didn't I do this years ago? Like this is fucking awesome. Like why didn't I do this years ago? So now I go every fucking year. Yeah.
I remember long before the internet was a thing. Fangoria, there was something about there that everyone was speculating they had closed. They'd been demolished. Which is obviously completely wrong, but it's
I think in the years before the internet, like everybody knew where the Monroeville Mall was, and a lot of the times that wasn't the Monroeville Mall. Like there was all kinds of different people saying like, they shot that movie here at my mall in Minnesota or whatever. It's like
you see the same thing about Night of Living Dead. Oh, it was filmed at the Livermore Cemetery or whatever. Like, where does this stuff come from? You go to Evan City, it's clearly Evan City Cemetery. Right. There's no mistaking it.
And the sign is the same basically, and the road's the same. And
yeah. Rick, speaking of Night of the Living Dead, on the reboot of Night of the Living Dead 1990, is it just the director's cut of the 1990s release, or are they going to reshoot the 1990 version? I guess he's talking about the new release that they're coming out with. I guess it's coming out next year that Tom was talking about an uncut
all
version
violence back in. Is that the deal?
I think so, and I think it's going to have that original ending, or not original ending, but
original
the original intro to the credit sequence where it starts in black and white and kind of gradually becomes color. I don't know. Tom said it's going to be. He said the version that we have now is 30%. He said the new version, the new uncut version, is going to be about 60% of what he wanted. So I'm curious to see what it is, because if it's just the work print version, then that, like, the work versions did, but the biggest difference between the work print version and what we have is just the soundtrack. Mostly, it's just a difference. Like there's some, it still keeps like the gunshot wounds and some of the gore and stuff in it. But I'm curious to see what all they have, because the fact that Sony's doing it and they own the rights to the movie and they have all of the original elements and all the original stuff that was shot, who knows what they're going to cut back into that. I'm really curious to see what the hell's going to come out of that.
Music. What does John think of the score of Night 90?
Oh, me?
Paul McCullough's score, yeah.
I think it mostly gets a bad rap. There
Do you
are
like it better than the Day score?
Yes. Believe it or not, yes.
Ah, come on!
Wow.
Yeah. There are elements of the night score that the Night 90 score that I don't like. You know, like the opening.
Strompler guitar sounds are terrible.
Yes, yeah. The guitar sound. It's because I remember being like creeped out by it when I first saw it as a kid, and then like listening to it years later and laughing how like. It's keyboard guitar. It's not like a real guitar being played.
And not well played keyboard guitar like Jordan Rudess does. So
yeah, well, I thought about doing a remake of it. I wonder if I could play it on the Syntax or like play it on a real guitar. If it like you could beef it up, it would be pretty good. Some of the atmospheric stuff I think is very good, but it gets bogged down by how bad some of the things are.
And that's the atmospheric stuff in Night 90 is much better than.
There's a track I think called Pump Run that's pretty good almost overall. The ending track I think is pretty good. It's just if you replace the sounds, some of it is pretty strong, but some of it I think is very weak. But overall, I think I like it better because what I like about the Night 90 stuff I like more than I like the stuff that I like for the days. Like the day soundtrack might be more consistent. But the stuff that I like that Night does correct, I like more. Some of the like the gurgling sound is really cool. Yeah. Just like it just is very creepy. Some of the water effects, some of the choir sound that's in there. But then there's some instrumentation that's just rock. There's also one Twin Geeks. It's like this harmonic minor thing. It's just so like this doesn't need to be there. So I think maybe 60% of the soundtrack is pretty good. And 40% is really bad, and people concentrate more on that 40. As I said, if you get rid of that 40 and take the good stuff and just reuse some of it, I think people would think better of it. I
just don't like Paul McCullough's music.
Well, I mean,
I'm just like, I don't know.
I've said this before. The Paul McCullough's Night 90 is by far his best, but that's like being the nicest guy in prison. Like
that's
other stuff.
That's a good way. That's a good way to put it.
That's a Cornet reference right there.
There you go. Brandon said the mall did section off a plot of land, I think 2 years ago. That's interesting. I wonder what they're doing there. Johnny saying I'll get there one day. Yeah, you got to do it, man. Got to do it. Even all the way in Scotland, man. Make the trip. Who'd we meet? It was Synth. We met somebody from Wales. I think we were just out in the parking lot. Dude.
Oh, this guy named Guy, who's a DJ from the UK.
There you go.
Wow.
So shout out to Guy. He's out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was just wandering around. We were just standing out in the parking lot talking. He was just wandering around, just staring at the mall.
He was on my tour with Larry.
Okay,
so,
yeah. We're like, hey man, what's up? And he's like, oh man, I'm just taking it in. I'm like, oh, where are you from? He's like, oh, I flew all the way from Wales, man. I'm like, oh.
That's where Scott Kellaway's from that area, isn't he?
Somewhere over there.
Somewhere
I think it's Manchester, maybe. I forgot.
Yeah. And then Jacqueline Kennedy, or Jackie, she's from Scotland. I know we met her previous year. I keep saying last year, thinking I'm talking about 2023.
Yeah, you missed this year, man. Or
I did. Year. Fuck me. I know.
I'm hoping. I'm actually really looking forward this year to seeing everybody because since I'm usually there with Jim, it's like similar to like Larry, even though Larry's busier than I am. I'm usually like I'm helping out and I'm doing this or that. Yeah. And sometimes I want to sit and I want to like talk and BS, and sometimes I can't because I have to sit with somebody or I got to drive somebody or I got to get a wheelchair for somebody or something, which is great. I'm not complaining about it, but I feel bad because sometimes I want to talk to people and I don't have the chance to like really talk to them. And I want to get the okay from Jim. I don't think he's going to care, but I do want to show people the Super 8 footage because I'll have it on my iPad and I'll just
Bro,
bring it to
let's
show
do that.
people. If he doesn't, I don't think
Please.
he'll care.
Yeah.
But I would love to show people. But it's depending on what I'm doing if I'm running around. But I think this year I might not be as busy or as needed per se.
You can be like the Dave Burien of that. The guy that walks around with the machetes and props and shit that everybody tries to find. You can be the guy with the Super 8 footage that everybody's trying to find.
That's actually great. Great way to put it, because I specifically was thinking about Dave, because I remember last year I was putting stuff on the table and I was talking to Dave and I felt bad because like I was doing stuff. It's like, I don't want to ignore you, but like I'm putting out the 8x10s for these people and you know what I mean? And I was just being run all over the place and I felt bad. Not like, no, dude, I'm ignoring you. I want to talk to you, but at the same time,
it's crazy. Like I wasn't even a part of any fucking thing last year, but there was so much going on. Like I was just, it goes by so fast that you're just like, it's hard to take a moment to kind of just take it all in. But yeah, especially
I think I saw you for like what, 10 minutes the previous year.
Yeah. Because we're just like ships passing in the night. We'll stop. We'll talk. We're like, all right, man. Well, I'm gonna go find. I think I was trying to find Tony Booba. I was like, I gotta go find Tony Booba. And it's like, all right, I'm gonna go see if I can find so and so. It's like, all right. And it's like ships passing in the night. But Brandon says it's unfortunate unless they do something to bring in business, it's inevitable. It does do good business, much better than some. That's true. Said he was at King of Prussia 2 months ago, and that place was fucking booming, packed. Yeah, it was pre-holiday, but still, the new owners need to figure out how to draw that kind of business. Yeah, I agree. They'll figure out something, but they do want to keep it them all. So that's half the battle there. That's the good part. So. Where it goes from there, who knows? If they even buy it, who knows? There you go, Rick. Referring to Matt's story about that, it's a great story. It's what makes parenthood very great. Yeah, I mean, I was watching last night with Everly, my 4-year-old. She wanted to watch Zombie Shopping, which is what she calls Dawn of the Dead. So we're up here eating popcorn, watching Dawn of the Dead, and it's funny when you mentioned the Hare Krishna zombie, Mike Christopher, when he comes on in that scene where he's coming up and trying to go after Fran. It clicked for the first time, like because she's always been up here and she's seen my stuff all the time. She's just like, all right. But for the first night last night, it clicked with her where she saw that on TV and then looked immediately over to my NECA action figure of the Hare Krishna zombie and was like, that zombie, that's something. Yeah, that's him. That's him on the TV. She's like, oh, I want one. I'm like, all right, well, start saving up your money, kid. They're like,
is that the real expensive one? The rare Japanese ones, or
they're like $100, right? Aren't they?
God, they're going for
talking about the cult cinema ones.
No, the NECA
they're selling
ones.
at the Living Dead Museum once in a while.
The
NECA ones that came out in like 2004, 2005, something like that.
Yeah, I think they're like $80 maybe on eBay.
Yeah, they're not cheap.
Something like that. Yeah.
Johnny's asking, so is the airport still there from Dawn, or is that pretty much gone now? It's pretty much gone now. There's still a few spots out there.
I walked the airstrip. The airstrip is still there.
Yeah, it hasn't been developed yet. I mean, the last time we were there, when me and Will were out there fucking salvaging any fucking piece of airport we could find, there was still some stuff out there. I don't know what they've done since then, but back in June when we were there, they hadn't developed anything
yet. The building with the checkerboard roof is still there, and there's the runway. That's
it's gone. About it. Yeah. And even the last couple of times that we went, I know it was in pretty fucking rough shape. And then I think somebody set it on fire right before they demolished it.
Yeah, somebody went out there and really fucked around.
Yeah.
Which makes us look bad because they know, because the guy that works out there, that was like the groundskeeper. I remember the first time I was out there, the dude was out there just mowing on the big frame, and I'm just standing there, and the door to the airport was open. And I was just looking, and I'd look at him, and he looked at me finally and was just like, go on in. I'm like, all right. So he was cool. Yeah. But the fact that somebody went in there and, damaged it, broke the windows out, and it just makes it, it's like, oh, it's those damn people that came in for the stupid zombie thing that came in here and just destroyed
zombie
it.
shopping people. They're just awful.
Yeah.
Nothing worse than zombie shopping, man. Awful.
Well, and there was one guy that was gonna he wanted to salvage a bunch of the pieces and like sell them and stuff, right? He got kind of upset. Yeah, I remember that guy.
He got real shitty with me. Yeah, I remember that.
Like you, like personally, he was calling you out directly.
I just did a video, just like, oh, R.I.P. Monroeville Mall. Like, it was great. I was just sharing my experience. I shared a video of like when I took out there. I was like, oh, I wasn't doing anything. I was just fucking filming. Like, oh, this is where this, And he commented, was just like, fucking people like you are the reason that we can't have anything nice in the world, that type of thing, that type of tone. And I'm just like, what the fuck, dude? I was just like, I'm gonna ignore it. Like, what? But apparently he's the guy that he was like, I had the rights to go in and salvage all that stuff so I could repurpose it and sell it. He works with Sharon Hill and a lot of the people. Like, he does a lot of their stuff. Like, I
think he does some.
I don't fucking know him and I don't care. But like, I was just like, dude, I wouldn't do nothing. Like, give me a break. Yeah. I guess he maybe assumed that I was in on the vandalism of it. I don't fucking know, but
I don't know.
Some people.
I wanted to salvage some pieces of the ground, of the cement and stuff like that, but my luggage is already overweight. I had to pay an extra fee. So
me and Will went out. We grabbed a lot of pieces of concrete and stuff. We were looking like, oh, this has paint on it. This was from the building. Let's keep this. It was just like we were out there like fucking Indiana Jones, just fucking just finding what we could just to save it. Just be like, oh man, this looks like a piece of the window. So,
I wonder where the coffee machine went.
The last time we were there, there was pieces of sheetrock on the ground. There was glass broken everywhere. Pieces of the frames and shit were just laying on the ground. I mean, it was crazy. So, and I know we went one night, and the light on the landing pad was still there, like the big light that you can see in the movie. You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
We went the next day; it was fucking gone. Like that quickly, somebody took
it. Somebody has that. And
yeah.
Larry knows who the fuck it is, but he will not tell me.
Larry knows who's got it. He won't tell me either.
But he has shown me a picture of it where it's just like, I know who has it. I'm not going to say, but somebody has it. I'm like, all right.
I know who's got the mailbox from the front too. I'm not going to say who it is, but
I think I know who has that too.
You do.
Okay.
Hey, who has the coffee machine inside of it? That's what I want to know. I want the coffee machine and the candy machine. All the notes that's what I want.
Where'd the candy machine go? Yeah, that's the question. Anyway, Rick saying really missed the experience of going to big or medium shopping mall parking lots and all. Very 1980s. Malls are still around, but there's just not quite what they used to.
You know what I miss? I miss that. I miss the chlorine smell from all the fountains. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Granny saying Sunrise Mall's toast, but it's weird. Like some shit goes on there. I'm just not sure what. It's funny because like I've told the story before, like going to see Dawn at the theater, and when it was on the 3D run, I think it was when they were doing the 3D version, and I was there and coming out, like there was a father and a son. The son was probably 12, 13 years old, something like that. And the biggest takeaway that the son had was, wow, that was the coolest mall I've ever seen. Like, why don't we have any malls like that around here? And it's like, wow, yeah, like all the malls that he's probably grown up around are just like these dead, lifeless, empty storefronts. Like there's maybe, some anchors here and there, but he's never seen like a shopping mall like that with an ice rink and all this other stuff,
So a couple of malls we have here are quite big, and one has all the fancy stuff, like stuff you see on Rodeo Drive in the damn mall. All the high.
They have one of those in Nashville. It's a Green Hills Mall. Oh, that's crazy. That's where the the fancy shit is. That's the fancy mall.
Cartier, Louis Vuitton, there's everything you think of Rodeo Drive is in this place. So
Dolce and Gabbana.
All that shit. Yeah. Panerai watches.
No Auntie Anne's pretzels.
Oh, they have that too. That's the funny thing about it. They've got the low class and the high class in the same mall.
the third class citizens down here, all you pretzel eating freaks. Brandon says I need to convince the new owners to do a zombie walk to beat the record, get a lot of media involved to spread awareness and get more people to know about Monroeville Mall. Yeah.
Would you participate in something like that? Is that something you would do?
No.
I don't cosplay.
I don't either, man. I don't either. Like even Halloween, like I used to put on the Michael Myers thing and stand around and freak kids out. But like even now, I'm just like, I just don't have it in me. Like, what about you guys?
I used to do a lot of makeup
cosplay,
stuff, but I'd have to go all out, and it's a lot of work to do all that makeup. So
I do Jason Voorhees for haunted houses around here.
There you go. All right, John.
Nah, it's not
you. I didn't figure. I didn't figure that was a John Vullo thing. No.
Just be Shaun of the Dead. Just be Shaun of the Dead. Pretend you're dead. Ooh.
Yeah, there you go.
If it gets like attention for the Monroeville Mall, I'll support it. Right. But it's not something that I would support. If that makes sense.
I would be there, but I wouldn't be dressed up and walking like a fucking zombie.
Yeah, I just think that stuff is like so I'm looking for. It's just very like superficial.
It's very low rent. Fucking.
What'd you do if Tom Savini was there doing your makeup?
Oh hell yeah, I'd do that in a heartbeat.
Oh, I still wouldn't do it.
Or even Greg or Tom, if either one. Oh,
John's like no.
What if Tom promised to be nice to you?
I haven't really talked to Tom that much. Like maybe just like slightly in passing. I've gotten the vibe that I could sense what other people are talking about, but I haven't had like I could look at it and be like I could see why someone would be like might get turned off. And even I have a cousin of mine that said the same thing. Not quite sure why, because I don't know. But so far, the only bad experience I had was with John Russo. But I'm going to be very nice to him when I see him next time.
Yeah.
Well, you're working with the enemy right now, John. When it comes to Russo,
and actually, so
Russo and Image 10 are not on the same page.
Yeah, I'll tell this funny story because this just happened a few days ago. I found two people that were in night, and it actually came in a very roundabout way. I had seen posts that someone said that their teacher was in the film, and they both had the same high school in their Facebook. So I found the high school, did all the work, found the teacher. I actually asked the page, and they put up something, so I was able to get the guy's full name. Found his wife. They were divorced, but she sent the information to him, and he responded back that he wasn't in the film, but he knew a couple of people that did. And he gave me two names, and the two names he gave were actually in the film. I said, "Oh, well, how did you, get involved? Because we don't know who you are." They said, "Oh, they're from Clarendon, and they were good friends of John Russo, and they're also investors in the film." So I said, wow. I should text Jim this because I didn't know this, and I had asked for the Image 10 shareholders thing, months ago. I'm sure that there might be something in there. So I was giving Jim grief, like, how was it that there were two people that were in this film that were so close and you had no idea? And they said, they've been receiving checks, and Jim had asked, well, how did they get involved? They said, well, it's through John Russo. They said, do they know John Russo was the reason why they weren't getting checks? And I said, no, I didn't talk to him that much about that just yet.
You didn't break the news.
Yeah. But we'll leave it at that. But yeah, so the two other, so there's three people that were in the film that Jack Russo actually knew, that never said who they were, and one of them was in a bunch of other George Romero stuff. He was like, like someone that you would have known. I think I told that story when I was on here last time. I think so. Well, I'll all right, I'll keep it brief. There was someone that I thought was in the film, and I was almost certain because they looked like they were a particular ghoul. And this person was an artist. And Jim said, why don't you email Judith Ridley? I said, oh, that's a good idea because she was an artist too. Maybe she knows. So I sent her an email, and she said no, but it looks like this person. So I said, oh, okay. And I went to Russ, and I asked him about this person because this person was in a bunch of other George's films. And he goes, well, you should ask John Russo because they knew each other very well. I said, this was before we met. And I said, okay, now I'm in like a weird position because Jim, how do I do this? And he goes, just like pretend you're a fan. So he said, hi, Mr. Russo. My name is John Vullo, and I was talking to Russ, and he told me to email you, blah, 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 blah. And I get the response, not him, don't know him. That was the entirety of the response. And I said, okay, well, thank you. Well, then, like a month later, I got an email back from that guy's son, because I sent, sometimes you send out these emails, you don't know if they get, they actually going to them or whatever. And sure enough, he was in the film. Oh yeah, because my dad said he was in this film, and that's him. And I went, like, this was someone that, like, they spent a lot of time with. And I talked to Tim Ferrante at length about all things Night and John Russo, because Tim Ferrante also was part of Imagine, and he left before they did the Zombie Jamboree. And one of the reasons why is he said to them, and I guess Bob Michelucci, like, you guys are not going to make any money on this, and you're going to blah, 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 blah. And they were going to go with it anyway. So he got out, and sure enough, they lost a lot of money. I remember Jim telling me this, like, before I talked to Tim. I said, how could they have possibly have lost money? Because it looked like it was so, like, popular. But I guess they just spent way more than they were taking in, and it wasn't a good idea. So we were very cordial, but it seems to be generally where there's smoke, there's fire. So everyone sort of has a very similar story and stuff. And actually, one of the things that Tim Ferrante said, which makes sense to me, he goes, all right, I'll give you a positive John Russo story. He said he went out to dinner with John Russo and George Romero in California, and Tim paid for the whole thing, and they were super happy. George, oh, you didn't have to do that. Da, 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 thank you so much. Da, da, da. I think the next day, John Russo called up and said, oh, you didn't have to do that, and blah, blah, blah. I want to, pay half. And John paid half of the $500 bill or something like that, which is not something that Tim asked for. It was something that was really, kind. And Tim said, when you talk to John, he's very kind. He's, super friendly, give you the shirt off his back until Night is involved.
That's so unfortunate to me. And I'm going to ask you about, like, because I truly feel like Russo was a very big part of Night of the Living Dead and a very big part of the history. When you look at a lot of behind the scenes stuff, when you see George, John is right next to him. Like, John's right there.
I respectfully disagree.
Well, that's just my opinion. I feel like a lot when you see the trajectory of John Russo's career, and whether the movies are good, bad, whatever, you look at Booby Hatch or Midnight or whatever, like whatever you think of the movies that he made, the fact that he got them done and just had the tenacity to just say, fuck it, I'm finishing this film one way or another. I feel like maybe if he wasn't there during Night of the Living Dead, maybe Night of the Living Dead would have never been finished in the way that it was. Like, John Russo, I don't know. That's just my opinion. I feel like I wish Russo had a better working relationship with Image Tim, because I feel like he is such a important figure in the history of Night of the Living Dead. That's just my opinion. I think
ultimately he's resentful of the credit that George gets, and George should be getting.
I have gotten that vibe too at times,
because everything that you see in the film is really from George. And I think I might have mentioned this before when we talked about, think of George Romero as Vince McMahon and John Russo as like
Vince Russo.
Vince Russo, yeah.
No.
You start
Pat Patterson. Pat Patterson's a better example.
No.
Or Gorilla Monsoon.
But fucking wrestling dudes, please use other analogies. I can't.
I love old school wrestling. I can always throw an analogy. Well, the idea is Vince McMahon is number one. He might take the best of the best ideas from everybody, but ultimately, what he says goes. And I think ultimately, and George had said this, that when they made Night, it was collaborative, but he left Night wanting more control. And everything in Night is George. He's the one that had to edit it. He's the one that filmed it. He knew there's plenty of things that I don't want to talk about.
I agree with that.
When you talk to John and when you see John talk about Night now, it almost feels like he the way that he speaks about it, that he was sort of in creative control. It sounds like he was sort of
And-
number one when it came.
and-
You know what I mean?
And
That's what he
problem.
makes it sound like.
He's
And
starting
I fully believe that Russo did come up with the idea to make them flesh eaters. I believe that.
I don't disagree with any of the stuff that was prior to the film that he came up with.
Yeah.
But George took this and took that and put it together. And then while they're making the film, even though it might have been collaborative, I'm pretty sure, whether it's by committee or anything, it's still George was the one that edited it. He had to know that these things had to go this way. We have to film Helen's death this way because this happened earlier, whatever it may be. John Russo said that, George wrote the first half and then they co-wrote the second half. And so that's 25% at best. And even with that, the stuff that he put in is barely in the film. Because we have George's script, we have his handwritten notes, we have his dialogue, we have the camera things that need to be shot, all that kind of stuff. So we know how much went in. There was a story that that George Romero, I guess one of the articles that he did for Night, and they talk. See, the thing is, the Night script isn't really a script. It's almost like a first draft. It's almost like a working idea. And then once they started,
they were still writing it as they were shooting. So
no, it was still the draft was finished before they started.
But they would make changes as they were shooting,
yes,
right?
Yeah, the script was finished. That's another misnomer that goes out.
It's not like The Shining where they kept writing as he was making the movie.
Yeah, it seems like that, but we have evidence now of the contrary from other things. But in any case,
didn't I use a script to try to get the copyright on the film? If I remember something correctly. Showing that what we wrote here is what we got on the screen.
Maybe
I seem to recall something like that.
I don't know that much about it, but it wouldn't have made a difference anyway because it's the film itself that was public domain, and that was their own fault too. But so what was I saying with the script? Everything. There was that article, and they asked about.
All I'm saying is I feel like Russo does deserve a lot of the credit for Night. Like George definitely deserves more of the credit.
Well, I can't,
but
because
I feel
he's starting to make these outrageous claims. Like he's the one that came up with the title for Night of the Living Dead, which is not true.
Hold on. Here's the ultimate test. Look at Russo's subsequent work. Look at his behind the scenes stuff for the 30th anniversary of Night. That guy didn't really have the touch. I'm sorry. So
he did not. I will say
he
this,
deserves.
Russo does not have the artistic eye and the flair that George had. George was the creative
decisiveness in front of the behind the camera. Yeah, it's just. Yeah.
But what I will say is Russo's track record of being able to get shit made and finish shit is something that I don't know if George.
But the operative word is shit made. He got a lot of shit made.
George is the artist, and he needed somebody like Richard Rubinstein to come in and handle the business aspect of it, to keep the paintbrush in his hand, to keep the paint coming, that type of thing.
The box that he could play in.
Exactly. And I know Russ Streiner is technically the producer of Night of the Living Dead, but I feel like
he's co-producer with Carl Harmon.
Right. But I feel like Russo was probably the guy that was just like, fuck it, we're going to get this made. Like, we're going to finish it. We're going to do it. We're going to do it, because his subsequent films after that, like, as bad as they are, whatever you think of them, like, he still fucking made them. Like, there's a movie that just came out like a year ago that Russo wrote, and is like, he just does shit. Like,
there was still so many people that were involved in the project. I mean, like, most of the film was completed by the end of June. They only did some shots in August and some in October. I mean, some of the main shots, but at that point, I don't think it's anything like, oh, we only filmed for a few days and now it's going to fall apart. I will say that he got the ball rolling and certainly helped out with certain elements. But I don't want to say any more than what I know, but I've heard plenty of stories from people involved. A lot of them are not happy with him because he's been, as you guys were saying, taking up more and more. I'll say this story. when we were in Massachusetts, they were doing a convention, and they had a Q&A, which was at a different part of it wasn't like in the area that we were in. It was at another room, and Jim and I stayed at the table, and the 5 of them it was Russ, both Judy's, Kyra, and John. They got shipped off to do a Q&A. And during the Q&A, someone from the cast was texting Jim how upset that they were that this became like the John Russo show, and the stuff that they were saying wasn't true, and X, Y, and Z. And
it just sounds like a lot of petty bullshit to me.
Yeah.
That's just to me. I don't know.
But it's also like 60 years, you know. And that's what I mean. It's evolved over time. If all these people have the same opinion of one person, it's not a fluke.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it comes from something. And again, like this is something also Tim Ferrenti said, you know, when I was talking to him, like you feel bad because it's like he brings it on himself in a way.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm not saying I don't like the guy, I hate him or anything like that, but
what's the saying? If it looks like shit and it smells like shit, it's probably shit.
Right?
Right?
I don't want to go that far, but
I'm just saying, where there's smoke, there's fire.
Yeah, he contributed, but I take more umbrage from a historical impact that now that George is gone, he's starting to take
That's what I was
more
going
and
to
more.
say. Right.
He's trying to usurp more of the stuff.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with that too. I've heard that too. Yeah.
And it's stuff that the normal and I would consider myself in this case not normal, because I've been very privileged to be around a lot of these people and talking to these and seeing things and talking about this that to the average person they might not know. Oh, it's John Russo. He created Zombies. He's the co-writer. You know, he wrote Night of the Living Dead. And it's like
he invented zombies, and he will tell you. Just ask him.
Yeah, but
I invented the modern zombie.
When you know all these things, you're like, well, that's not necessarily true. But you have to be
Al
like
Gorsine invented the internet, right? So.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to be like an uber geek fan in order to really know this stuff, because it's not like this stuff is written down.
Right.
You know, once you're like in there, you could say, "Oh, okay, I kind of see this." So, and it's unfortunate because he seems like he would be a great wealth of information, but he just wants to keep on shooting himself in the foot.
It's sad. It tarnishes his reputation when he already provided plenty of good stuff. He's doing a retcon. It's not right.
And it's like he's resentful that Night wasn't his success. It might have been part of his idea.
Up on that too, where I do pick up that Russo has a little resentment in him.
And it goes to George. But the thing is, it should go to George because ultimately it was his vision in the end.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's, I think, what he's like, that's what his life's working. Like, he's still selling stuff for Return of the Living Dead. It's like, you had nothing to do with it. You just had the title.
Yeah. Yeah, he's still all about the, you know, I wrote Return of the Living Dead, and they're like, wow, really, Tarman? That's great. And it's a completely different story. You know?
For someone that's more of a historical purist, it bothers me in a way because it's not accurate, and the people that did contribute should get the credit. People should get credit for what they did accurately, and George, very kind to, not saying that, and they were all friends, you know, it's not like they all hated each other, but I think George was way more above it, being like, I think I've told you before, bringing back very magnanimous when he said, like, I didn't want to return to Night of the Living Dead, you know, which is just his very kind way of saying, I don't want to be involved with this, you know. That's, you know, go ahead, you get my blessing. But he was fortunate enough that he really continued to have a career. You know, okay, so some of this stuff didn't do very well, but eventually he did have success. People could see through it. They could see Dawn. They could see Martin. They could see Creepshow. And George was the one that reaped the most success from Night. And, like, for the most part, he should have. I'm not saying that everyone else didn't contribute, but again, like, you'd have to look at his script. You'd have to see what's actually there. The camera angles, even like the way, close up on this. And it's like, wow, that's actually what's in the film. That's not what's in the script. It came from one person.
And again, just talking about George's editing, you can just see the way that it's edited. You can see George in the editing, you know. So I fully agree. Like, George deserves a lot of credit for Night of the Living Dead for sure. But, you know, I feel like, you know, Russo, because you see a lot of behind the scenes photos and stuff from Night of the Living Dead, and wherever you see George, a lot of the time John Russo's right right by him. He's right next to
the only time that you really see,
not that he's a creative genius or anything, but just the fact that he was there saying, "Gung ho, man, let's do this."
I want to say the only time you actually see him in behind the scenes footage is the posse scene because he's doing second camera work. But I'm not saying he might be everywhere else, maybe, but you don't see him. You know, like, but that's the only thing I want. Again, try to. I've seen a lot of behind the scenes photos because I have to organize them, and the only time you really see him in a lot of photos is during that posse day because he has second camera. And honestly, I don't know if any of his camera stuff was even used in Night, because it's like angles. You'll see George and then you see John, and you go, okay, that angle there that John is at is not in the film, but you see George's.
That's interesting. I'll have to look at that.
I'm not saying that he did anything bad, but like he's at the graveyard scene because he's dressed up as the ghoul. He's apparently at the cemetery that they filmed in October. He's barely in one photo, but he's not dressed up. And that's another like thing. Like he's got his memory wrong that he was like not supposed to be this. He was supposed to. He gets credit for being the first ghoul that was like dressed up because that was the first day. But they never.
He was originally supposed to be the original cemetery ghoul before Heinzman. So
and they only got 2 shots of that are actually in the film. Everything else was done in October. So like it wasn't like, oh, I was supposed to be the cemetery zombie, and then Bill Heinzman showed up. It's like, oh great, I don't have to do this. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that they asked Bill Heinzman, to do it before John. Another thing is Bill Heinzman got lit on fire first before John Russo. The Russo stuff was done in October, and Bill Heinzman got
Heinzman was lit on fire first. By God.
That's right.
But it's one of those things where it's like, well, I had the idea that one of us should be lit on fire, so I got which he got lit on fire.
All right.
I know I'm beating you into submission. Listen, if there's one thing I'm gonna know, it's this stuff, and I'm not trying to sway anyone's opinion. But if you're gonna debate with this with Night stuff, you're gonna have to come with bigger gloves. Everything else.
Russo was standing by Romero because he was asking about making a movie about Santa Claus. You want to make this movie about Santa Claus?
and I feel bad when I watch this. I see Carl Hardman.
Yeah, Carl's in it. I'm just saying, like
the bottom line, he had a hand in the creative process, even if it's just a fucking small little bit. Regardless of what he says and what he tells people at his fucking table, that's not my business. That's nobody's business. That's going to be up to them to decide. It's good that people are talking about it so that maybe they can get their opinion. You know what I mean, or develop an opinion from somebody that knows more about it. But I try not to even think about it anymore. It is what it is. I know what he did. You know what he did, and it's whatever. When I think of Night of the Living Dead, I don't think of John Russo. I think of George Romero. That's it.
Yeah. I will say he did direct Midnight, and Midnight's pretty fucking a fun little movie. I'm just saying.
he's a fine writer. Maybe doesn't have the director vision, but the writing stuff, to continue.
But like I said, whether it's good, bad, indifferent, whatever, he got it fucking done. And I appreciate that about Russo. He's just never say die. Like, this shit ain't going how I planned. Like, that's usually the story when you ask him about Midnight or any of those movies that he made. It's just like, yeah, it didn't go as I was planned or how I wanted it to, but fuck it, we got it done. Like, I appreciate that in somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, he had 3 Midnight variant posters at LEW last year, and I asked him, I said, "Oh, I didn't know there's so many variants of the posters. That's interesting. It was a really fun movie." He goes, "To be honest, I don't remember much about it." So apparently it wasn't that great of an experience for him.
Well, I do agree that his gusto is what started Night. After that, I'm not entirely sure, but I'm just saying
that's fair.
You should put his.
Although the booby hatch was definitely.
So you'll find something else tomorrow about the booby hatch.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, you'll find something new.
Granny says, I missed the Sunrise Mall when I was a kid. That was the best night out. I remember once spilling orange soda all over Dee Snider's mom.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she's from the area.
What a story. She was so nice about it afterwards. Told me she was his mama. Does
Grande, I don't know if he's still around. Does he remember the movie? So the Sunrise Mall had a movie theater in it, and they showed Dawn of the Dead, which was crazy. And they got rid of.
What year was this?
1979.
Oh, in '79. Okay.
Yeah. But I was like, I didn't know that movie theater was that around that long. It's like imagine watching Dawn of the Dead, where it says Han's Shoes as a movie theater. Like it was actually inside the mall. I thought that was so cool that it was like that. All the sun. I liked the Sunrise Mall because it reminded me of Dawn of the Dead. The middle had like a fountain. I would go and buy Suncoast Video and then get Dawn of the and walk around and be like, hey, this is cool. This is like the Long Island version of the Monroeville Mall. They were very similar. They had the 3 anchor stores. They were laid out very similarly. And actually, I think our store was bigger because I was surprised when I went to the mall in 2006, May 8th, 2006. It was a lot smaller than I thought it was. It looks so much bigger. And then when I went there, it was like, oh, I feel like I could throw a baseball and like hit the other side. It seems
See, I always thought like before the Monroeville Mall, when I first got to the Monroeville Mall, I was like, this is a lot smaller than I thought. Because when you watch it and you see it in the movie, you feel like, oh man, this is infinite. Like there's so much here. Yeah. But when you actually get to it, you're like, well, it's actually like not that big. Like it's a pretty good sized mall. But I mean, like in the movie, it feels like it's just like it's its own city or something. Like there's so many spots to it.
It's always crazy with those, like with the lens of the camera, because anytime you see those places, they always look bigger than they really are.
Yeah, especially like those wide shots from like the corner, up on the second floor. You're like, holy shit! Like, where is this?
Yeah.
Like,
so apparently, based on the story, D. Snyder is going to take it.
His mom's gonna take it.
Yeah. His mom's going to take it. He's going to take it. They're all going to take it. So.
Actually, speaking of Twisted, this is the place that I teach at. Their bass player stopped by. You should try to Google the bass player for Twisted Sister to see what he looks like. It's pretty scary.
So a guy I used to work with at Nikon, his son shot one of the last Twisted Sister videos.
Well,
Weird, small world. Yeah.
Well, they're a Long Island thing, so they,
definitely Long Island. Brandon says, I love both 1968 and 1990 for different reasons. The 68 ending is better, but the 90 has more tension. Okay.
It has more hammering and fucking screaming too.
Yeah.
I've always said that.
Larson. Oh man.
I have always said that, like, if you love incessant hammering and screaming, 990 is for you. Like
the one thing that the couple of things that Jim pointed out about the 90 version that went right over my head when we were talking about it, and I think they're really good points, are in the 68 version. Like as soon as like Barbara is being chased, she gets to the house, she looks outside, there's already 2 of them, she runs out, Ben's there, they explore the house, and then they hear the car getting smashed. He kills 2 of them, then he kills the one in the back, and then there's 4 others in the back, and they go, wow, there's already like 10 of them that are surrounding the house. Night 90 doesn't start that way. Night 90, when she gets to the house, there's like a couple of them, and
it's fairly quiet.
Ben kills like 2
of them. And then they kind of wait
then,
around until like more show up, like
Yeah, and it's like they could have left. And actually, if I was talking to Dubensky, he had issue because he edited it, where it was like, okay, the next scene, it's like he's outside, damn you to hell. And I think there's like some other scene, and then all of a sudden it's dark out. And like there was like 3 or 4 hours that passed that they could have left, and then they started showing up. And I think Jim brought up a good point where it's like in the nights in 68, they were already trapped. They were already there, and you couldn't see, and you're like, okay, we have to figure out. Whereas in that version, they could have just already escaped. Yeah. They could have left. What were they doing in the house for 4 or 5 hours? And Uncle Reed is still there, and it's like, how did you throw him out? And I think that was a misstep.
We'll see. They're the new uncut, different cut versions coming out, so maybe there's some stuff in there between. Yeah, I'm curious to see what all they got, man. Brandon saying he may or may not have a chunk of tarmac, I guess, from the Monroeville Airport. Okay, so I think we all have. We all probably have a little piece of the.
What are we gonna do our video, Michael? Our blacklist video.
Our collecting the dead of like all the random pieces of
collecting the illegal dead.
Yeah. I don't know. I'll have to look up and see when the statute of limitations run out on some of this.
Yeah.
Thought I was going to jail last year.
Yeah, wake up with a warrant in your mailbox or something.
Yeah, they're like, oh,
you silly kids in your debauchery.
That's why you say allegedly from the tarmac. Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly. Come on,
All right,
Brandon.
so Larry called him out. We didn't have to do it. There you go.
There you go, crump crap.
Okay.
That's what we'll call it.
I've heard that name. Is that kind of why it's been? I
don't know. He does. He works with some of the different guests. Like I know he works with Sharon Hill and stuff for some of the stuff that they sell. But yeah, he got pretty fucking pissed at me for the video that I put up, just talking about just walking around the airport. Like she's like, oh yeah, you fucking vandalist. I'm like,
the security guard. Am I thinking of
No.
someone else?
No, it's not the security guard. It's a guy. I guess he takes pieces of shit and sells it after the fact, just to say, "Oh, here's a piece of the airport."
Right.
For
my mistake.
He steals stuff and he complains about vandalism. That's lovely.
Yeah, he has the right to sell it, but you know we can't just have it. You know, I don't know. Let me see. I'm trying to catch up on some of these comments here, guys. Johnny's saying, hey, would like to see Synth do a rendition of Breakout from Day. There you go, Synth. There's a request. Yeah. Something to work on.
I'm going to do that
in the future. Lois, do any of you know the guy dressed up like Flyboy? Yes, that is the
Scott Kellaway.
Badass Scott Kellaway, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. It was funny. It was cool. It was cool for Living Dead weekend back in June. We got Scott, me and Will got Scott to sign a photo of him as Flyboy. And we sent it to David's sister, Barbara, who I've become pen pals with over the past few months because, David unfortunately passed away back in January. And me and Will ended up going to David's funeral because David, was from here in Evansville. I had no fucking idea. And until he passed away, and I was like, holy shit, he's been here the whole time. Like I've often wondered, what happened to David Emge? Like, where is he at? Is he okay? And he was like right down the road the entire time. So we ended up going to his funeral, meeting his family. I became, we pretty close with, or not pretty close, but we had a
cordial. Your acquaintance.
Yeah. We had a correspondence with his sister Barb. She would send us some stuff that he's like, oh, here's some 8x10s that he had, and we'd send letters back and forth and stuff. So I ended up sending him a picture of Scott dressed up as Flyboy, and I thought she'd get a kick out of that. And she was like, oh yeah, I've always heard about this guy. Like, there's a guy that dresses up like David every year for this convention. And I'm like, yep, that's him. Like, that's his name's Scott.
Right. And he's a really good guy too, and he's super nice and cool, and he's actually
that's great.
Yeah. Hold on, I want to show you something. Hold on one second. Speaking of Scott,
sure.
I've only talked to him like once, but I'd like to again.
Very, very, very cool, very nice guy. Yeah.
I actually did 2 3D scans of him at LDW. I'm going to print them out and give them to him this year.
That's true.
This is a picture we took with Scott. I don't know if you can see it.
Here, I'll solo you. Hang on.
There you go. That's a picture we took with the elevator at the museum together with Scott. So, cool. Yeah, a couple of years ago. So super good, super cool guy, and he hangs out around the convention, and regular Flyboy clothes too. He's not always zombie Flyboy, so he just kind of cosplays the whole time.
It's funny. He'll do, and he looks just fucking like him. He'll do zombie Flyboy. He'll do regular Flyboy.
Yeah.
He also does Johnny.
Yeah,
from Night of the Living Dead. Yeah. He looks spot on. It's
I didn't see that one.
He fucking morphs. It's crazy. I don't know how he does it. Johnny said, I watch Dawn, different takes regularly. I just noticed Screwdriver Zombie locked outside the mall doors. I thought, how the fuck do you get out there? I don't know if I ever noticed that.
I don't think so, because John Harrison was just there for the one thing. That was it.
Yeah. Or John Williams, one of them.
Yeah, fuck you. Dude, listen, my brain is Swiss cheese. That's one of the things I was good.
I think I know what he's talking about. There's like a guy, he's wearing like a yellow construction hat. You can see it.
Okay, yeah. I know about.
Yeah, they look similar,
he
but
kind of got his arm and he kind of falls in the parking lot. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Hit some of these comments fast. Lois says, I was at Zombie Jamboree. It was one of the most memorable and best times I had at any convention.
Did she meet Keith Lane?
That's a good question. That's a good question.
And How many times does he blink in person?
Is it just an acting tick, or is it that's just how he is? Granny said we need a George versus Russo and a Judy Bagwell zombie on a pole match. There you go. Vince Russo and John Russo should have booked Thunder. There you go. Here we go. Brandon says now we're really getting into good debates. Hey, you know, that's the fun thing I like to do here. Granny said John Russo wanted to have a WCW pay-per-view called Fight Night of the Flesh Eaters, but Turner wouldn't go for it. A fun fact for you. Johnny said, actually, has there been a 4K collector's DVD of Day? I've only got the US Anchor Bay version. Actually, no, there is a Blu-ray version released from Scream Factory from 2017, but there hasn't been a 4K yet. There has been some debate on whether the original negative and the elements are still around to restore. But as a matter of fact, next weekend stream, I'm going to be doing the history of Day of the Dead on home video in the US. So
sweet.
Tune in for that one. That'll be fun. And I'll get into it. I'll talk about whether or not we're ever going to get a Day of the Dead 4K. Because right now we don't really know. Let's see.
So the negatives are unaccounted for. They're just not the quality they need to do restoration.
It's just missing. Or I've heard that it's missing, but I've heard that it's been discovered too. So I don't know who to fucking believe.
I think I mentioned I heard Little Birdie mention at Living Dead Weekend that it was found.
But yeah, that's what I heard.
It was from someone that I would suspect to know, but I can't remember the full conversation. But that was the feeling.
Well, I heard on Planet CHH, his channel, he had the guy from Scream Factory, and he asked him about it, and they said, yeah, it was like lost, and I think they found it like South Africa or South America or somewhere like that. They actually found the original negative print of Day of the Dead. Wow. So that's just the rumor. I don't know if that's true or not, but we'll see. If I feel like if there's a time that they're going to do a new release of Day of the Dead, it's got to be for the 40th anniversary this year or something this year, Brandon St. John has the 30th anniversary. Yeah. He gets credit for that one. We'll give him credit for the 30th anniversary.
Creatures, those are the best. Yeah.
Grinding saying he wasn't alive when they had the movie theater around for the Sunrise.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't alive either, but I saw it an ad for it in the paper, and I said, "Oh, it's at the Sunrise Mall. That's so freaking cool." But when you said you weren't alive when they had the movie theater, when were you born? Because I think I saw like private parts there.
Grande's young, man. Grande's a youngster, but he knows his shit. Like that's the thing about Grande. He's like 26, 27 years old, but you fucking name a movie, he can tell you who directed it and who starred in it and who was the cinematographer and what it meant. And like I'm just like, God damn, dude. Like
those were the good times in the mall. They had like the 2 arcades and stuff. Yeah, I think I saw like the Mystery Science Theater movie there and private parts.
Oh wow.
It was a great little theater. Yeah.
Yeah, Grande is one of the only dudes in his 20s that I know of that talks about Mario Bava. Like I don't know anybody that, you know what I mean? He's got such an expansive.
Yeah, and he knows what the fuck he's talking about. He's not just like, oh yeah, Mario Bava directed some movies back in the day. He's like, oh, Mario Bava directed this and this, so and so starred in it and and just like he knows his shit, man. I love Grande. He's a good kid. He's a good kid, let me tell you.
Oh, he's a good kid.
Let's see. Lois said, could everyone on this stream please give us your YouTube info? I'd like to follow you guys. Go ahead, Ed. We'll start with you.
Ed Trader of Music and Entertainment. I will add a link in the description or comments somewhere on.
It's down there. I got the.
I do funny videos.
I got you
music documentaries, stuff like that. Yeah.
Synth, what about you, man? I know you got multiple channels, man.
Mine's easier when the question goes away, my name comes back. It's just at Synth Addict on YouTube, and then in the detail section, I have all my other channels: the microscope channel, the telescope channel, the blah 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 blah. So,
Synth is a man of a million. He's the jack of all trades. Let me tell you, dude knows a lot about a lot.
You like go in and like do videos on like crystals and shit, don't you?
Not like crystal healing shit, but actually
no, but like minerals,
chemistry,
and
science.
Like
I have a
biology.
new wave channel.
Yeah,
Or a new age
I play
channel.
some Yanni, and I sit and look at crystals. And,
New age addict.
yeah, no, it's microscopes. Microbiology.
Microbiology. That's right.
Everything down to bacteria, 1,000 power.
And one of the cool things that Synth does with his channel is that Synth will go to these places. Like I know you're going to the NAM.
NAM convention's in 24th, I think. So,
and
I always do live streaming there.
Doing a lot of live streams and covering it. Yeah. Synth does a great job of like kind of taking you places and kind of showing you. And Synth's one of those guys that like knows a lot about a lot of shit, so he knows what questions to ask people to kind of like fill you in. Like I don't know, I
just have fun talking to people and just whatever. It's just
how do you get into
it? Really fucking good at, man.
Basically, YouTube is my VCR, as I always say. So instead of using a little video camera like the old days, I just stream everything up to the cloud, and it just lives up there. I don't have to store it anywhere. So
how do you get into NAM?
So I've been once in 2009 through a friend at Guitar Center, but it's been very hard for years. And because of my YouTube channel, my SoundCloud, a website I had for a while about some other stuff, I qualified to go to NAM. I don't know how. It's just magically happened one year. So 2020 was my first official year paying to go in. And then I've been going ever since. Last year was the first year they allowed Joe Blow to go, but pay a lot more money.
Okay.
So you could pay like double, triple the price to get in. Because in the old days, like back in 2009, I mean, they had like heavy metal bands were there, and you get autograph lines, right? I saw Weird Al, I saw Sheila E., I saw Jermaine Jackson and Tito walking around. I mean, it was like a whole celebrity thing, right? They don't want riffraff coming and harassing all the celebrities.
Yeah.
So one way because it's a trade show first and foremost.
Yeah.
Trade only, and then adjacent was allowed to come because they're under scrutiny. They're not random people off the street. Now, as I guess they vet you somehow, but you can pay a certain amount to get in. I noticed people last time were getting in that were just nobodies, right? So not that I'm anybody, but I'm at least proven to the NAM organization.
Fuck that, man. You're Synth
I'm a musician. I'm a gear nut. I have all this content. So that was enough apparently. So
when I was working at Sam Ash, I was like, oh, I could get into NAM because like I have an in, because I didn't think that I thought you needed some sort of in. You couldn't just pay to get in. So I guess that had changed.
With your content that I've watched, which is a lot, you definitely could get in.
Oh, thank you.
Just try to get in.
Well,
they'll review your content and they'll let you in. I'm telling you.
Yeah,
if
maybe
I can get in. You can get in. You're a music teacher.
What's your what's your YouTube channel, man? John?
Well, that's I mean, like, it's nothing that interesting. It's Terriginous Official, but that's like
you gotta quit all this humble bullshit. Like, you're being humble. It's nothing. Your channel's pretty fucking awesome. Like, you do a good job of compiling shit. Like, for fans, if you're a fan of Alpha Romero, this fucking channel, like, check out John's channel because he's done a good job of compiling shit and kind of like.
Well, I have two channels. There's one that's the band channel where I do my Alan Holdsworth nonsense. That is somewhat successful, and then I have my own.
No, it's not nonsense. It's good shit, man.
Well,
don't put yourself down.
You follow mine, not the band one. I have two. That's why mine is just that John Vullo, and that's just like random nonsense that I put up once in a while. It's not anything like fancy. But the other one is only for music. Night of Living, too much Night of Living Dead on the brain. Alan Holdsworth stuff. Doing a syntax video. It's not George Romero related at all. But my own personal one, it's there's also nothing of that interest unless it's like, oh, I want to do a comparison of the Argento and theatrical cut. But
on this channel, like that is something of interest to the people. If it's Saturday night and you're midnight and you're watching this stream, people want to check out your fucking channel, dude.
Well, I have some videos that are remotely interesting, but the rest is like a video game cover that I did 15 years ago or something. I treat that YouTube channel as just like random stuff that I want to put up for whatever reason, and sometimes it's for me, like, oh, I want to do a definitive extended to theatrical cut I'm not going to put that on the band channel, so I have to put that on my own. But I'm not. This is what we talked about before about like I forgot where it was, somewhere early in the conversation, but like forcing. That's what it was. The YouTubers like, oh, we have to like buy this stuff. I never in my life forced any sort of content. So when I was doing those Alan Holdsworth videos, I was doing them when I felt like it. And people, oh, you should do a Patreon. You should. I said no, because once I'm taking people's money and doing that stuff, then I'm indebted to say I have to do it at this time, and it's going to take.
And it takes the fun out of it. Like it turns a passion of love into a work.
Yeah, and now once I started doing the Night of the Living Dead stuff, I put out maybe one Alan Holdsworth video because it's like, oh, my focus is now diverted to this. So I only put out content that I'm interested at the moment. I never try to force like, oh, I did really well with this video. I got to come up with another video really quickly. So that's why like none of those channels are. I'm not a YouTube person. You know, I'm not like a content. I hate the term content creator. I'm not a content creator.
I do too. Actually,
I just
put up. You should make a John Russo fan channel. I'm telling
you. You should. What about you, Matt?
Yeah.
My channel is it's Lando Landrum. It's Lando from Star Wars and Landrum. Lando's my nickname. It's what my tattoo artist and friend Bob gave me years and years ago. He calls me Lando because it sounds like Landrum, but Lando Landrum. And I don't really post shit either. I don't really have anything on there. I'm gonna be humble like John and actually lose followers on my YouTube page by talking it down so much.
You guys don't want to subscribe to this thing. There's nothing to see.
You know, I've never seen Star Wars.
Have you never?
You've only seen 50 movies, so
wow. No, I have no interest in seeing it. Zero.
Wow.
Yeah. Try to meet someone that hasn't seen Star Wars.
If you watch any of them, watch 4, 5, and 6 and skip everything else.
I know what happens, so I don't need to watch it now.
Yeah.
Larry says I got a lot of illegal dead. There you go.
But how much is he willing to show? What cards is Larry willing to show?
Yeah, come on. We're all friends here. We're all friends here. We're all friends here. Nobody's gonna say nothing. It's okay for him to do it though. What a jerk. I guess we're talking about the crump crap. So
now I gotta look at
Lois says I met Keith Wayne. Wow. He signed a bunch of stuff for me, and he was a truly awesome man. That's awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah, because like. He only did that convention and maybe like one other. I don't even know if they had another one. And then I think 18 months later, he was gone.
Yeah, it was sad. He committed suicide, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was terrible.
His Kyra said that because I watched, it was really great that I can't believe I forgot his name. I'm so ashamed. But he was there and he took all video of it. And you're watching it and you see Keith and he seems to be having a good time, and he's, singing opera and stuff like that. Oh, wow. And I think Kyra said that he had just gotten a divorce, and he was very up and down. She could sense that something was a little. But you can't tell in those videos, and it's a shame. He seemed like a really genuinely nice guy, and I think that divorce just like really
total movie star looks too, man. He could have. I don't know about his acting ability per se, but I mean he had him and Judith Ridley were the two. Like I was just like, man, they had some movie star looks.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's what George said. He was the rock star. He would fly in and they would film his stuff, and actually because of that,
him on the back of a convertible going, "Hey."
Yeah, I got
that from the interview with George, where George just like he would just show up on set on the back of a convertible, just going, "Hey." All right. Granny wants to say, are you guys going to give your top 5 horror movies of the year? I thought this was going to be a year in review or year in horror review one. Yeah, I was going to say John probably hasn't seen any. What about you, Ed? What are your top 5 horror movies that you've seen this year, man?
I've not seen 5 new ones this year, but my 5 movies of the year is Speak No Evil.
Okay,
it's kind of a horror movie, right?
I would categorize it.
Even though it was wrong in a lot of ways, I like the Iron Claw about the Von Erich family. I thought that was a great film. Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. It had some problems too, but it was still good. I mean, you got the OG Ghostbusters back. How can you go wrong, right? The Bike Riders was good with the Austin Butler guy, Norman Reedus, and all that. It's a pretty good movie. I don't think that's about all new I've seen this past year, I believe.
Yeah, I really only watched horror movies in 2024. Like a lot of the other shit I just didn't care to see, but there were a lot of horror films in 2024 that I was kind of wanting to go out of my way. What about you, Synth? What did you see in 2024 that really stood out to you?
So it's funny because going way back, I'm a horror nut. I mean, I liked it even more than sci-fi. And then as time went on, I got more into sci-fi, more into drama and action and all that stuff. So my horror consumption lately is pretty sad, unless it's my favorites, like the stuff I just go back to over and over again. I think the only new horror movie I saw was The Substance, and it was fun, you know. But tons of other stuff.
I watched streaming content the other day. I heard a lot of good things about The Substance. A lot of people really putting it over, saying like, "Wow, what a great movie." The effects are fun. The effects are fun. That's about
the idea is interesting. Yeah,
it's the short review that I gave on one of the Dead Pit fucking streams in the chat was like all style, no substance is kind of how I felt about the movie.
Yeah,
like
pretty much.
there was like some cool effects.
Ultimate warrior of movies.
Yeah, but man, there was no like I didn't give a shit about any of the characters. I didn't give a shit about the story. I didn't give a shit about anything that was going on. I was just like, what kind of freaky makeup are they gonna do next? Like that type of thing. But,
exactly. Yeah. So I mean, it was a popcorn movie. Yeah, it was fun.
But it was too long. I have this issue with so many movies now.
Yeah,
everything's too fucking long. Not everything has to be 2.5 hours.
Cronenberg did all this stuff so much better so long ago. It's like, where's the new stuff, right? It's not
absolutely
nothing original. So, I mean, he was doing that shit in the 70s.
Yeah, it was kind of a throwback to it was just a body horror movie, and I had a lot of high hopes for it because the first like 5-10 minutes of the movie, I was like, wow, this is really stylish, interesting, like kind of curious where this goes, and it was just kind of like it just kind of stayed almost as a parody. It felt like a parody almost.
Yeah, it's over the top for sure, but it's well shot. It has some interesting this and that in it, but and hey, Demi Moore still looks pretty damn good. So
yeah.
So for the prurient interest out there, it was interesting. But that's all I saw horror new. I always rewatch a bunch of stuff I love. I finally did watch the Zombie Pestilence 90.
Oh man,
there you go.
So that's not new. But
I've still got to see that. I've still got to see that.
That was also a little bit long. I have to say, it's fun, but it's too long.
Oh,
it's funny because it's only like 80 minutes long.
I know.
It's just like it's too long. It's too long.
The routine just doesn't work that long. It's like, but I love the dubbed stuff, just like in the Night of the Dawn of the Day of the the famous dub. It's like that. It's just crazy dubbing and very entertaining and. Although the one I found had the penis scene cut out of it. I had to find another version of it. Just that scene was cut out. Can you believe it?
Yeah.
It's like there's so much other wrong with that movie. They cut that out.
They cut the penis out like around a bobbit.
Yeah. Exactly. And then just tons of streaming and other movies and stuff. So I'm constantly watching shit. Like I'm watching the new season of Squid Game right now and just whatever. Just watching lots of other weird shit. So,
what about you, Matt?
I'm kind of the same. I don't think I saw 5 new horror movies this year. I know, so I can give you one good one and I'll give you one bad one. How about that?
Give me a good one and I'll debate you on it.
Well, you probably already know what I'm going to say. The one good one I'm going to say I saw this year was Nosferatu. I thought it was fucking awesome. It's a beautiful movie. It's beautifully shot. I like what Robert Eggers did. Great atmosphere. Whether it's missing the emo love story that you feel like it should have, I still appreciate it.
Look. So I've been thinking about this because
look.
Hold on. So I've been thinking about this, and I don't think it's a bad movie or anything. But there was something. I left that theater after I watched it, and I was like, I felt like I was missing something. There was something that I just couldn't. I was just like, man, it's just not. Like, it wasn't bad. Like, it was well made. Like, there was a lot of good I liked about it. The thing about it, the Nosferatu story, the version that Robert Eggers did, if you've seen that story before, it's pretty much a beat for beat remake of any of all the Dracula stories. Nosferatu the vampire, like. So I remember sitting in a theater watching it, like, oh, okay, I know where this is going. Okay, yeah, it went there. Okay, I know where this is going now. And
you pretty much already knew
I knew the whole
of the movie.
story.
Right.
I knew the whole story. I knew where everything was leading. And that was the biggest disappointment for me, because when I watch a movie directed by a guy like Robert Eggers or Ari Aster or Ty West or any of these like new age horror directors, the thing I love about them the most is that I feel uneasy because I don't know where they're taking me. Like, I don't know where their stories are taking. Like when I watched The Witch, I was like, oh my God, this dude's going to do something. He's going to do something that fucks me up. Like he's going to take me somewhere I don't want to go.
Oh yeah.
Or Ari Aster is going to take me somewhere I don't want to go. Nosferatu took me somewhere where I knew exactly where I was going the whole time.
But I mean, it's a remake of a remake of a remake of a remake. I mean, there's really nothing else you can do.
Wrong with that.
All you can do is put your own style and your own spin on it, I guess you could say.
And like I said, he does a great job doing that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, me personally, I was kind of hoping that he would take it and do something a little different with it. Take it somewhere else. Take it in a different direction.
Like what? Exactly. Like what direction?
I don't know. He's Robert Eggers.
It's kind of hard to beat F.W. Murnau's version. It's awesome. The original is really good.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And even I love Werner Herzog's Nosferatu. Yes. That's one of my favorite. Like something about that movie. There's an ominous aura and an ominous vibe to that movie. Like even the scenes where he's just traveling to Transylvania.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
The reason it gets more and more ominous as he travels.
Yes. Well, that's because of how Herzog shot it. If you look at the way he loves to linger on these big wide shots of like landscapes and scenery and structures and stuff like that. So there's one scene in particular, it's like almost 5 minutes long. It's just this one wide shot of these mountains, and all of a sudden you see the fog roll in and completely block out the sun. But all you're doing is sitting there and watching smoke come and fog come, but it takes forever to come, and then finally you're like, oh, I get what he's doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it adds to the atmosphere. I just don't feel like it had the same atmosphere that this one did. And obviously there's a bigger production, there's a bigger budget.
I think it has to do with the score too, man. Like Herzog's Nosferatu, the score that
it's very strange because it's very uplifting, very also
unsettling. And then when you meet Orlok, when you meet Dracula, when you meet the vampire, in Herzog's version, he's a pussy. Sad. He's sad.
I'm sorry.
He's been cursed with this, like, I'm invincible, like I will never, like I'm just, it's like I said to you, my favorite quote is like, time is an abyss as deep as 1,000 nights. Like I love that. It's like, oh man, it's like that existential fucking sadness that my fucking deep dark goth emo heart or whatever loves,
it spoke to and your then emo heart. Absolutely,
exactly. And then the Eggers version, he's just like, I am a monster type of thing, and I'm just like, I wish he would have played a little more like subtly.
What did you think of the Willem Dafoe version of the character, the earlier movie?
I've never seen that.
Check that one out.
Seen that.
Yeah,
it's interesting.
Check that one out. Shadow of the Vampire.
Shadow of the Vampire. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Which Defoe was awesome in this one too. Like
Defoe's
did
great in anything.
Yeah, anything he's in. Like I told you, he did his best.
Except for Boondock Saints, he's garbage in that.
You think so? Really?
I hate that movie.
Wow.
I don't know if I've ever seen that.
Yeah.
It's all style, no substance, like you said.
Yeah.
It's interesting when you said when you talked about remaking it and like, oh, you got to keep it to the original, but alter it. Made me think of like classical music, like a lot of Bach stuff has no it all the notes are there, but it doesn't tell you how like delicate to play some of the notes.
Right.
And it made me kind of like, oh, that's kind of interesting to almost think of it like that. Like this is the story. It goes from A, B, C to D, but how are you going to put your own spin on it in a way? I never thought of it like that.
I'll give you an example of a movie that tried that and it didn't work at all.
Psycho, the remake?
No, Pet Cemetery.
That was like shot for shot.
That was exactly shot for shot. But the original Pet Cemetery, the Mary Lambert Pet Cemetery, 1989, and then the one that came out a couple of years ago, it was like almost beat for beat the same story, And then they got to the point where instead of Gage dying, it was Ellie, the sister, died. And changed the whole trajectory of the film and fucking went straight to shit.
I never saw it.
Yeah. But the whole point of the story was that connection with the father and the son, right?
Okay.
And even when you change that to being a daughter instead, there's just something about that disconnect there that it just sent it off in a completely different direction. The movie went straight to hell after that.
Plus, the daughter was too old as well.
Right, she was too old. Gage was still the same age, and that was sort of another point that made it scary. Was in the book and in the movie, Gage is like a fucking toddler. He's like 2 or 3, but when he's possessed with this spirit after being buried in the Micmac burial ground and coming back, it's an adult's voice that's coming out of his mouth because it's not him. He's gone. He's just a fucking shell. But there's this demon spirit possessing him that's speaking and that knows everything. You know what I mean? And that makes that shit scary. But Ellie was already she was like a preteen, almost a teenager, right? In
about 11. About 11.
So
it's funny
because go ahead.
Continue.
No, it's okay. That was it. That was the end of the
It
thought.
made me think of like Star Wars, like the little bit that I know about like the who shot first, and I didn't know what that was until realizing like, oh, it changes the whole arc of Han Solo's character.
Right.
And I was like, if I was a Star Wars fan, I would be livid. That would be, like I'm trying to think of like, they had that opportunity for Night of the Living Dead. Jim had told me like when they scanned it, they said, like, well, is there anything that we can change? They were thinking about removing the bugs or whatever. And they said, we can't mess with this because everyone's going to know every little thing in this. The only thing that we're going to fix is stuff that we knew what they were going for. Like it really just like hammer sounds. When, someone shoots, the gunshot is in sync with the gun. Or when someone hits the nail with the hammer, the sound happens. I guess the original was slightly off because, George was eyeballing it. They said, we can't, touch that. And then thinking about like, well, what if they wanted to change something all of a sudden?
I'm going to go take a pee real quick. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Like I'm trying to think of something that they might have changed that would like completely, I'm trying to think of something with Night, with like Harry, like maybe like the basement didn't hold or something and they all came in the or whatever it was. It was like changing the complete arc of the story would be like, it'd be furious, So, when you're doing those kind of remakes or something, a lot of that stuff is important because it really tells to the overall arch of, let's say, a character or how the story is supposed to be. And if you change something to be a little bit, that's what made like the Night 90 remix like so difficult. Like, yeah, all right, you can just sort of run past them, and I mean, it's basically true. That was the whole point, that George was trying to say in the original. Because it's not that the zombies are dangerous; it's that the people can't get along in order to fix this problem. So, but like changing it to now, well, they could just run past them, sort of like, softens the whole story. Then like, why are these guys like they're almost fighting in a stupid kind of way? And it makes Ben, I guess, weaker because you don't really like sympathize with him that much. Because like, okay, why just run away? And with Night,
it makes the story less dangerous. Also,
they changed other things too. They made the seller the kid's idea, not Harry's idea, in the remake.
Mm-hmm.
He even says so out loud.
Yes. You're right.
Yeah.
But changing those little elements is so important. And with Night, that's why I've mentioned this before. I hate the what ifs. Like what if they should have went up to the attic? It's like you're completely bypassing the point of the film. But ultimately, like they're very obviously afraid of fire. You could have just went out there with the torch and got your way. But the point of it is not trying to think logically. The point is you're in this situation where these two people can't get along. So everything in the story has to like hold that up. And with something like Star Wars, where like, I guess the whole arc of the story is Han Solo's kind of a jerk. And then you root for him at the end, to have him just being like, to not have that really takes
he has an actual arc from being a jerk badass to being a nice guy. So
So sometimes directors should stay away from their own, works, or like the silliness of I just learned about this in like E.T. Instead of the FBI officers holding guns, they're holding radios.
Walkies. Yeah.
What difference does that make? Who cares? But we have to make Han Solo a good guy because it's Disney, and we can't.
Because we're anti-gun in this country for a while.
Yeah.
So, Nosferatu actually is a film that I would want to see, but never.
It's really
Brandon
good.
wants to know thoughts on Twilight of the Dead, which is a topic I was going to bring up for looking forward to 2025. What are you guys' thoughts on Twilight of the Dead? Of course, the news. We got Brad Anderson directing. Of course, directed Session 9, The Machinist.
Right.
A capable filmmaker.
I'm cautiously optimistic about it. I'm curious to see how it plays out. I'd love to see how the story plays out. But I also like him as a director. I love Session 9 is one of my favorite horror movies ever.
That's when you put over a lot.
Yeah, I love that fucking movie. So I'm looking forward to it. I don't know if it's going to be the best thing ever, but we'll see what happens. I'll definitely watch it for sure.
I'm kind of burned out. I mean, after seeing Festival of the Living Dead, like I'm just kind of like
it's your own fault.
I was going to say that's an admission. I forgot to mention I watched Festival of the Living Dead as well that last year,
and it didn't make
my worst night ever. So,
what about you, Ed? Yeah. What about you, Ed? What are your thoughts on Twilight of the Dead? Is that something you're excited to see? Is it something you're looking forward to?
Okay, imagine Beethoven. They found a piece of music he wrote. Nobody's ever seen it before. Orchestra's going to bring it to life, but how are they going to know the syntax of what he meant? Or as he put it in front of an orchestra, how he would change things. They got script from George, but on set, what differences would he make? What changes would he make himself? What was not on paper that would come to him later on? I'm going to see the movie, obviously, but it's still not going to be a George Romero movie. It's written by him, but it's made by somebody else. It needs to be just a little bit of a distinction put on that. Plus, with the new director, he deserves to have his name on it as well. You could put George A. Romero's and his on top of it. Because he's still going to make the movie, put his vision into it. So that's my thoughts, anyways.
I agree. Like I feel like the same way I felt about the book, the novel, The Living Dead, with the Daniel Krauss did.
I was going to bring that up. Yeah,
I always felt like I've never read it, and it's just because it's like, it's like 25% George, 75% Daniel Krauss. I have nothing against Daniel Krauss, but it's like, you don't really know if that's the story that George was trying to tell, or if it's an interpretation from somebody else of what George was trying to.
Is Daniel Krauss really Susanna Sparrow? That's what I want to know.
Yeah,
I don't think he's old enough to be.
I try to get to the bottom of that. All right, so I'll say this with Susanna Sparrow, because I messaged Gornick about this, and he had the best answer. And this is probably lost to time now, that it was probably the pen name of somebody that worked at St. Martin's. So I think that's probably the best bet.
Honestly, that's probably the boring and unexcited. Like we always like, it's George's, George Stark. It's like George's version of George Stark.
It's like Stephen King, Richard Bachman, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
I know it's been John Russo all along. It's been him.
It's that damn John Russo.
Bringing that full circle there.
Yeah. I told Mike about some of the things it could be. Catherine Colbert and all this kind of stuff, and he said it's probably obviously that Richard Rubenstein would know, but I've been told I don't know how much longer he's got left, let's just say that, but so I was like, I obviously can't ask him. I had asked actually Leif Jonker if I could ask him, or if someone could ask him about that. Also, actually, it was more importantly, I wanted to know what was up with the Independent Filmmaker, which is a documentary that he did. It's quoted in The Zombies That Ate Pittsburgh that has never been seen anywhere else, and I would love to see what that is. But
wait. Go back. What do you mean you don't know how much longer he has left? What have you heard?
I think he's pretty ill.
Oh, really?
Rubenstein?
Yeah. I can say that. Like I don't know if he's like super ill, but I don't know if he's like sick but I wouldn't be surprised if you heard any news from him in like a couple of years or something. not saying, like, I could be completely wrong, but that's the vibe that I got was he's
well,
not
I
doing
mean,
well.
I don't wish any ill will on Richard. I have a lot of respect for Richard Rubenstein, honestly. But you know what they say
he's a very successful producer. He's done a lot of shit.
Yeah, and without him, George's career, who knows what would happen to George's career? We may not have gotten a lot of what we got.
I agree.
But you know what they say, like when Catherine passed away, like I kind of got that feeling. I was like, oh man, I wonder, because I mean, you're married to somebody. How long were they married? Fucking 40 years. That's a long time to be with somebody. When you lose your companion like that, you always hear like, the husband or the wife is not far behind. So I was kind of worried about that. So hearing you say that kind of,
Yeah, I didn't get any details, but that's what I got. It was just like, contacting him is hard, and so I don't even remember the exact verbiage and the details, but that was the vibe that I got. So I could be talking a little out of school, but that's the impression that I got. But anyway, so circling, might as well just circle. There's not much more to say about it. I mean, I hate to say this, but the only silver lining is that maybe after something nicer will happen to us as fans in terms of getting the movies, Martin back out there and stuff like that. Yeah. It's awful to say, but I mean, it's at that point where, like for example, I had a neighbor that was a hoarder, and it was just a mess. And I hate to say this, but this problem's not going to be fixed until she dies. And then she died, and then the problem got fixed. It's awful to say, but sometimes it's like that's what has to happen. And
it's like you don't wish ill on anybody, but
so it would be selfish to say like something like us as fans, we can finally we could see the black and white.
I've always respected Richard Rubenstein and what he's done to kind of preserve George. Like I know a lot of people like, oh man, George, there hasn't been a release of Dawn of the Dead in the US since 2007. Like it's been a long fucking time. And it's like, why won't Richard Rubenstein? Why won't Rubenstein just give it out?
He also had to give the rights to the UK release.
Yeah,
because so it was like okay,
which I wonder why. Like Second Sight did the Dawn release, and then about a year later did the Martin release. And I've always heard that Rubenstein will not sell the rights to Dawn without also including the rights to Martin. And Second Sight, I guess, is one of the only companies that I can think of that did both. They were like, all right, we'll buy Dawn, but we'll also do a Martin release.
But I don't understand why it was only restricted to the UK, because it's already a US territory technically. Why not just put it out in the US? It's not like it's only in Europe. By the way, does anyone know who has the rights to the Argento version? It's not Titanus or who's distributing it. I asked Larry this. I think it's KOCH Media. I tried reaching out to them.
Oh, Coke Media.
Yeah.
I've seen them a lot on.
I think they got repackaged into a new company. And I tried reaching out to them, and I haven't heard back. Yeah.
On this version, it's Coke Media is the name.
But I don't think they exist anymore. I think they got rolled into another company.
But yeah.
What was I saying anyway? Yeah. So anyway, I think that's the answer to the Susanna Sparrow thing. And I reached out to St. Martin's Press, and they never got back to me. That I don't think that's anything that they ever kept track of. In the mid.
They had to give credit to somebody because they did help. They just didn't want to use the real name.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure someone knows because it's a royalty thing.
Yeah.
Well,
2025. That's your goal, John.
Well, the problem is
figure out who the fuck is Susanna Sparrow. Figure it out.
The problem is someone's got to get back to me. I tried. I did as far as I could with it. I mean, St. Martin's Press is in Manhattan. I could just knock on the door and just chain myself to the door and say, "I'm not leaving until you tell me who you're sending this check out to."
Like this guy's out of his fucking mind.
But in terms of getting an actual name,
if Susanna Sparrow was John Russo, it would fucking say John Russo, and it would be bigger than George Romero.
Yeah, it would be John Russo with including George Romero.
Yeah,
and I was surprised because I think you had mentioned this on your stream, and I went back. This was in the summer, and I read the script, and then I read the novelization back to back, and they're not that much different. The only change is the ending and the dog's name being Adam. And of course, some filling out of some minor stuff. But from what I remember, even some of the descriptions that George put in is like that in the novelization. Where it's almost like, how much did this person actually really add? They just like fleshed it out to be more like a novel instead of like an itemized script that does this and then there's this and then there's that thing.
Yeah,
I was surprised. I thought it was going to be more elaborate than it actually was.
Yeah, very similar.
That's why the name changed the dog, so they can get credit for that.
Yeah.
What's the name
that's
of the dog?
I'm sorry. The dog survives. That's what it was. The dog survives in the in the novelization, in the script.
The novel is it the novelization of the script? Because I remember the dog running down the stairs of the stairwell into the zombies and getting,
Yeah, he gets killed in the script. In the novelization, Fran takes him in the helicopter. And I think the dog was named Adam in both of them. I could be wrong about that, but I was wrong.
Adam's what I remember.
The change is what happened is pretty much just the last, I don't know how many pages, where there's no suicide and the dog survives as well. Everyone lives. Romanza.
Granny saying, "Speak No Evil." I couldn't stand. You couldn't remake that movie, especially after a 2-year layoff only. I haven't seen Speak No Evil, so I can't speak on that one. So I can't speak on Speak No Evil.
I think you'll like it.
Granny saying, "I hated The Substance." There you go. A lot of people put that over, but I was just like, the effects are cool, but man, I just don't.
Yeah, Dead Pit guys loved it.
Yeah,
I love that you're using the wrestling terminology.
Actually, I speak in wrestling terms all the time. And people are just like, "What are you talking about?"
Great verbiage.
Why are you calling me a mark? I don't understand what that means.
So like Carney speak, right?
Yeah,
pretty much.
So I'll tell you this quick story because it's related to Dawn of the Dead. I went to WrestleCon 2019 and I specifically wanted to speak to one wrestler. Do you know? As far as I know, he's the only wrestler I've ever seen on TV wearing a Dawn of the Dead shirt.
Oh.
Do you know who it was?
Jerry Lynn.
Yes, and he was there, and I went to go speak to him with my Dawn of the Dead hoodie, blah blah blah. And I really respect wrestling. And we were talking about Walking Dead, and he was talking about the dead as like the heels and the baby faces or whatever. And I started laughing because I was like, I got to be honest, I really feel a little uncomfortable using like wrestling terms to like someone that was in the wrestling business because it seems so disrespectful. But I found it so amusing that he was calling like the zombies heels. But it works so perfectly. So yeah, Jerry Lynn, good guy.
That's pretty funny. Brandon says, "I enjoyed Alien Romulus, Dune Part 2, though I want to rewatch the Lynch version again. Long Legs, Late Night with the Devil. I like Late Night with the Devil. Midwest, Angelica, YouTube Analog Horror Series. I haven't heard of that. And Squid Game 2. So there you go.
Long Legs is going to be my negative film of the year. I couldn't stand that piece of shit.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan either.
Yeah.
What did you think of Late Night with the Devil, though? I did like Late Night with the Devil. I wasn't crazy about the ending, but the rest of the movie itself I thought was...
I did like it. I did enjoy it. I think one of the things I liked the most about it was they didn't use a lot of score in that film. They kind of utilized silence a lot, and I really appreciated that. Yeah, I think it worked really well on that.
Who made Long Legs?
Oh, what's that guy's name?
Osgood Perkins.
Osgood Perkins, yeah. Anthony Perkins' son,
yeah.
Anthony Perkins' son,
yeah. Grant is saying, "Hell yeah, I agree. Nosferatu is fantastic." So Grande likes Nosferatu. Whatever. Like I said,
I mean, did you at least like it? I mean,
I did. I thought it was well done. I thought it was enjoyable, but I think I pinpointed my biggest issue with it. That I just felt I left the theater feeling a little dissatisfied. Is that it just followed the story too close, and I was just like I was watching it. And I was like, I know where this is going. And I love watching Eggers and Astor and those type of filmmakers because
Eggers has a good track record. But
I don't know where they're taking me, and they're going to take me somewhere fucked up, and I'm just like, okay, but and
So what did you think of what did you think of Lily Rose Depp though? You think she did a pretty good job?
She was okay. There were like the parts.
Is she better than that than Yoga Hosers?
I was gonna say she's almost as good in Yoga. No, she's pretty good. There were parts that were a little over the top for me, like just in her like the monologue readings where she's like, "How art thou?" And that type of shit. I was like, that's a little over the top. But when she's like convulsing and doing all that shit, I'm like, wow, that's pretty impressive, like body, like physical acting that I appreciated for sure. No, I don't. I didn't dislike it at all. Like I enjoyed it. And it's one of those movies I left the theater and I was like, okay, that was fine. I'm not insulted or annoyed, but
you didn't buy
I just wanted
buy the
more.
$30 popcorn tin, right?
No, I didn't buy the $30 popcorn. No,
there you go.
That's for Instagrammers and YouTube.
Right, collectors.
Yeah, exactly.
People in $30,000.
Although you got to love the Dune popcorn thing because it looks like something else.
It looks like a sex toy, is what it looks like.
Yeah.
The one thing I want to say about Nosferatu is that I hope it does well because I would like to see more of a return to that more like arty, more.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm all for, and I feel like 2024 was literally the year that horror was like the tried and true genre at the theater. Like a lot of superhero movies kind of fell flat. A lot of shit fell flat at the theaters, but like Terrifier 3, Nosferatu, Longlegs.
Well, I'm going to say that in spite of Terrifier 3, because like I'd rather see less of those because it seems artless in a way where anyone can say like, oh, you know what we could do? Let's like skin a baby. You know, like okay, you know what I mean? It's like anyone can come up with that, and it just seems very, you know,
it's over the top. It's over the top for sure, but I appreciate the performance from David Howard Thornton most out of those movies. Like I feel like he's really good in it. The rest of the movies, like I could do without, but hey, at least it's getting people to go to the theater and pay hard-earned money to see a horror movie in a theater. Like I'm cool with that. Whatever.
And like if we're fans of Dawn of the Dead,
it's just going to inspire studios to do more horror, you know.
Oh, and then I'm sure that they'll ruin it because they'll try to force it. But,
well, Universal tried to do the Dark Universe, and that Mummy was so terrible that it killed that whole thing. So.
Yeah, well, we got Wolfman to look forward to. I mean, there's a lot of shit.
But I wanted to say, like with Terrifier, like we love Dawn of the Dead, and it's very gory, but it's more like if you were in the moment, this is sort of what you would be experiencing, and it's kind of also cartoonish. The other stuff, and even like I love the Friday the 13th stuff because it's just like a dull hammer. It's not supposed to. It's just like, you know, who's there, axe, boom, and then it's over. Yeah. This stuff is almost like torturous, where it's like uncomfortable to watch. I feel like if you enjoy this stuff, like why don't you just like man up and watch an autopsy or something? Like you might just go all the way full in and say, well, I could watch this stuff, but like, you know, I can't watch, you know, someone being burned alive.
Well, I was pre-med and I actually enjoyed all that stuff, but those movies don't do anything for me. So
yeah,
I'm more medical, but you see what I'm. It almost seems like a front that people try to put on in a way. You know, I think it's weird.
Brand's going to watch Nosferatu when it comes out on Blu-ray. I would see it in theater. I think it's an interesting movie to see in the theater. Again, another thing about that movie, I felt like it was a little too long. I mentioned earlier, I think a lot of movies are too long, but I feel like it was long, but at the same time, like the pacing of it was a little off in parts. Like I felt like it was a little rushed in parts for my taste.
Like the cat, like when he actually gets to the castle.
Yeah, like the whole journey aspect of it. It's just like all of a sudden he's just there, and then it's like all of a sudden Nosferatu's there, and it's just like I just wanted a little more build to that, but I mean, it's definitely the 5 better movies that I've seen in 2024. Like Strange Darling is one that I would recommend that everybody check out because I think that was a really well done movie because it kind of keeps you guessing throughout, and you're like, oh shit, like I did not see that going there. Strange Darling's a good one. Late Night with the Devil is definitely one that I enjoyed. What was the other one? Blink Twice. I don't know if you guys have seen Blink Twice. Mm-hmm. It's got Christian Slater and all these just random people in it. Haley Joel Osment's in it. But it's one of those movies that like it takes a left turn into like, oh wow, I did not see that going there. Blink Twice is a good one.
Actually, Christian Slater's good in the new Dexter spinoff. Playing the dad.
I hadn't seen Christian Slater in hardly anything in a fucking long time. Which, fun fact, Christian Slater got his start in what TV series? Anybody?
Tales from the Dark Side, baby.
There you go, Ed. There you go.
Oh, yeah, from the Grandpa episode.
Yeah.
He sneezes his nose off.
Case of stubborns.
And his first feature, starring role was Tales from the Dark Side, the movie directed by John Harrison. Was that his first starring main feature role?
I think the skateboarding movie was before that. if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Or right around the same time, give or take.
Do you know who was also in the Grandpa episode in Tales?
Ooh, I just watched that not long ago.
Who's the preacher?
Oh, that's Brent Spiner.
Exactly. Data. Data's in it.
Well, to me, he always be Wheeler from Night Court, but that's just me.
Yeah.
Bob and June Wheeler,
I've actually never seen any of the Tales of the Dark Side stuff. It's like the one Romero thing that, the Jason Romero thing I haven't seen.
A lot of them are really good, actually. I was doing like a thing where I was like watching them and reviewing them, I don't know, about a year or so ago here on the channel, and I was just like, I'm tired of fucking watching shit and reviewing it. Like, I just didn't want to turn it into a content thing. But like most of them I really enjoyed. Like, they were really well done.
And at
like
the time they came out, because I saw them when they released them, there was like nothing like that on TV.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking
Tales
like
from the Crypt,
early to mid '80s, and a lot of them directed by John Harrison. Mike Gornick directed quite a few really good episodes. Savini did a couple episodes.
Yeah.
Like,
unfortunately, helped break up Laurel. Well, I should say George's partnership with Laurel.
Yeah, George wanted no part of TV.
But I can't disagree with Rubenstein. I think he did that was the right avenue to take to sort of branch out and do different things instead of like only funding George's stuff.
Yeah, they kind of had to go in that direction.
Speaking of Richard,
such huge movies, yeah.
Well, speaking of Richard, once he passes, who owns Don at that point?
It's got to be his sons.
Yeah, it's got to be his kids.
Yeah. What do y'all think they'll do with him?
Sell it.
You think so?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Probably.
Because I don't know what they do, but that would be like their easy source of income.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, it would be a way for them to make money. Absolutely.
Oh, I think you can sell the rights to somebody.
No. I mean, I'm sorry. No, they would absolutely. We would see more Dawn releases, I'm sure.
And that's what I mean.
Is that a good? Is that a? I'll get all you guys' thoughts on it. Is that a good thing though? Because one thing I love about Dawn is that there's not a billion releases from a billion different companies, and it's not out every year, and it's not, and it hasn't been done to fucking death like Halloween or Evil Dead or all these movies that get a new release every year, it seems like. Whereas Dawn, it's like it's still special. It's still like my thing. Like it's
I want to release the 3D one again. I missed it when it came around, so.
It was cool, although it's different because they freeze some of the scenes in the background in order for the foreground to move.
Oh, really?
Yeah, not all of that.
It was quite noticeable.
I disagree a little bit because what you end up doing is you end up choking the growth of that movie. Because I always laugh when you go onto the Facebook group and someone says, "Hey, where can I watch Dawn online? I want to stream it." Just go on YouTube instead of having it more accessible on a streaming service like Amazon. Now, if we're talking about physical releases, I could meet you halfway. But there are so many people that still enjoy the film, and you can tell that they're kids because my father showed me the film. You see them getting autographs, so it's people will still be into it, but you're stifling the movie's growth by limiting it.
And it's sad that it's limited, and that fucking remake is everywhere.
Right. Yeah. And that's what I was going to say, actually. We've talked in the past about how we've sort of ingrained these films with our kids and we're sort of growing them up, but there's a lot of people that don't have that. And to kind of keep the legacy going, I think it would be better if it was more accessible.
Like we all saw Dawn of the, I think all of us, because we rented it because it was somewhere that we can go and see. That doesn't exist anymore. If a kid wanted to see it, they have to go on Netflix, and there it is. The problem with YouTube, it's not that it's a problem, but everything's there, but you have to search for it. You have to search it out. How are you going to find Dawn of the Dead unless it's suggested to you? If you're flipping through Netflix or Tubi or whatever it is, and you go, "Oh, this looks kind of interesting." That's what I mean. You're expanding the audience for newer people to see it. And it's not really for older people. It's for younger people, the ones that are going to maybe want to go out and buy a copy and see it. And that's what bothers me because it's like the movie would still have legs for people that want to see it, but because it's so restrictive that the only way that the younger generation is seeing it because either someone had told them about it or their father or mother. That would be crazy. Hey, their mother showing them, but like someone is bringing it to them. They're not discovering it on their own. Right. Like I think most of us did, and that's what annoys me. I think the movie it's not that it's timeless, but people can watch. There's not a movie that's quite like it because You've got elements of action and horror and comedy, and it was such a great experience. I saw the movie. I wonder if Grande was there, if he saw the movie in Huntington with Christine and Galen. It was a packed house. And one of the problems that I have with Dawn is that I've seen it so much, I'm like numb to it. I'm just watching the scenes that I know what's going to happen. The film doesn't affect me like it affects someone that's never seen it before. And, people are watching it. Maybe they haven't seen it in a long time. Maybe they're new, but they're like laughing when David tries to shoot the zombie, and then Roger comes over and ducks his gun away and shoots, and then Flyboy was looking at it. It got a laugh. And I went, yes, that is funny, because I'm like immune to it. But like it's still
like, oh yeah, this is supposed to work. Yeah,
it is humor. But like
I got to a point where that too, where like I would watch the movie and I couldn't watch it as a movie. I would just watch it to see like, what can I see that I haven't seen before? Like
now you're picking out all the shit and all the flaws, right?
Yeah, it's like, oh, trampoline. And you're like, oh no, okay.
I'm discovering it because that's how I found it with my friends. I mean, we just found it and go, what's that? That looks interesting, and then changed my life as far as horror movies go.
Yeah, because it's not really a horror movie. That's the thing.
I mean, but really the horror movie. Elements,
yeah. I mean, there's definitely horror, but it's like
can you think of a movie? Can you think of a movie pre Dawn of the Dead that did that though? That took like almost a comedic slant at horror, but still made it as hard as they did, or the guts and stuff like that. Like
Evil Dead is in there too. There's a lot of slapstick.
But that's post Dawn. That's after Dawn.
Post Dawn, yeah.
I can't think of anything before Dawn though that was like that.
Oh, that kind of early horror wasn't really like scary. It was just fun, like Frankenstein, and even like
Herschel Lewis stuff.
What?
Herschel Lewis. There was some
2000
Maniacs,
Blood Feast. A lot of that stuff you had to be was really underground. Like you had to really seek that stuff out. Yeah,
but it was underground. Like it wasn't like a phenomenal. Like when they said Texas Chainsaw Massacre doing the thing like the greatest horror movie of all time. It's like, well, really hard to argue against it because it's horrifying. When you watch it, that's why it's like Dawn is not like that. Yeah,
dude. I was gonna tell you, if we don't talk about Dead Kids or Adrenochrome at least one time tonight, what kind of fucking stream is this?
That's all Hunter's Thompson Small, by the way.
I did enough of that on Grande's stream. I did enough on that on Grande's stream. So,
y'all seen a movie called Ghost Breakers with Bob Hope?
No.
It's a hilarious horror comedy. You got to see it. You want a movie that kind of finds out between horror and comedy for 1950s, I think. That level of horror. You got to see it. Ghost Breakers.
I forgot to also mention with Dawn is that it's also smart. It actually has like a message. It has so much to it. It's not just like, we're just surviving and then that's it. There's all this stuff in it that's so.
That's the thing. Like back then, like when I first saw Dawn and kind of realized that there was a message to it. Like when I kind of got into my teenage years, when I was kind of my punk rock years, and I was like, oh, there's a message to this, kind of figured that. I'm like, oh, that's new. That's different. Like horror can do more than just be scary, and now it's like everything is just nonstop message.
Yeah.
It's like in, Don't Be a Menace when fucking dude pops in, he's like, message. It's like, that's all I see now. It's just like, George did it better, but did it more subtly to where it wasn't just like in your face, but Yeah,
and we talked about this because, like, I think you might have said is what I totally agree with is like the beginning of George's stuff. It was like, here's the movie and message, and then as it became harder for George to like make movies, the message became more important than the movie. And I think that's not the right balance. And George had said like at the beginning he was a little like uncertain about that. And then, even though he thinks like something like Dawn is like very in your face, I don't think it's heavy-handed at all. It's like they're in the mall. These are just what happens. But there's still a movie there that you can get behind. So
but even it's there if you're looking for it. Like if you're in that mindset, it's definitely there.
Yeah.
So let me hit some of these comments real quick, and then I got. Well, I say we've been going over 3 hours tonight, guys. I appreciate you guys hanging out for so long here on your Saturday night. I appreciate it.
Oh, it's been fun, dude. It's always fun.
Been good.
It's fucking flown by. It's crazy.
Yep.
I feel like we barely touched on anything, but we've touched on so much at the same time. It's pretty awesome. Let's see. Larry said, I feel the same about Festival of the Living Dead as Twilight of the Dead. So I'm guessing Larry's not too excited about Twilight.
If there's running zombies, I'm out. But I don't think that's going to happen. I'm like not even thinking about it. And when it's out, and if it seems like people are into it, I'll give it a shot.
Yeah. We'll see. I would be surprised because George hated running zombies more than anything. I think.
Yeah.
I'm still amazed Festival was ever made. I can't believe that movie was made.
Yeah.
Have those sisters made anything decent?
The Saska sisters?
Yeah.
Not that I've seen. No.
Holy smokes, that was bad.
Not as bad as Dead Hookers in the Trunk. Have you ever seen that one?
Look, Zombie Strippers was better with Jenna Jameson and Freddie
Robert
Krueger.
England. Yeah. I would rather watch that, to be honest with you.
Yes.
I'll watch Twilight of the Dead, but I don't think I can make it connect with George. Really, I don't know. Yeah, I think I'm going to try to go in with an open mind when it does come out, and just kind of, compartmentalize. I mean, it's not George; it's inspired by George. That's kind of the best way I can look at it. Right. Granny says Lily was money in it. In my opinion, cast was solid for the most part. I'll agree with that. Yeah,
I agree.
Casting was good in it for sure. Brian says, in Long Legs, Nosferatu, I saw the TV Glow, In a Violent Nature, Humane, and Cuckoo. I haven't seen a couple of those, but In a Violent Nature, I don't know. I wanted to like it a lot more than I did, I think.
It looks like video game footage, right? Just following a killer around?
That's kind of what it is. Yeah.
You're basically just
the first-person
following,
shooter, basically.
Yeah, following behind Jason Voorhees the whole time, pretty much.
The Friday the 13th online game, that was pretty awesome, actually.
Yeah.
I loved it.
I know it's gone.
It's awesome.
Yeah, I had Max 2 characters on different platforms. I love that game.
Mayor said there's an extended version of Nosferatu coming out on 4K.
Yeah, that's what I heard too. Yep.
Like I said, it's one movie. Like I'll still get it. Like if I come across it on physical media, it's one I definitely want to own. Like all of Eggers' stuff, I pretty much like to own. Jody said I saw the original Nosferatu in an old church in London with the live quartet soundtrack. That's pretty awesome. On acid. Oh shit!
Whoa!
That far. All right. Yeah. Hell yeah. That was great. I bet it was, Johnny.
I bet that was fucking rad.
And he lived to tell the tale.
Granny says I was there. Really fun night. They have to release it properly in the U.S. It's a disgrace that it's not. Yeah, I mean that's a one bit of topic. Future physical release. I mean, we know about the Night of the Living Dead uncut version from Sony that's coming out, the 990. But we've talked about the day 4K, the possibility of that. I do know. Sorry, I do know that. So we got this, which I know Matt's a big fan of. I know we did get this Bruiser 4K from Indicator over in the UK this past year, but I do know that there. I don't want to spoil anything, but I do know that there's a U.S. version of Bruiser coming out at some point too. So I don't know if that's going to come out in 2025 or not. But
I rewatched it recently, and I liked it a lot more the second time I watched it. I think the only thing that really sucks is the Take on Me or whatever with the song theme. I can't remember.
Oh yeah,
but,
yeah.
I liked it a lot more the second time I watched it.
Yeah, you watch it again.
For me,
Matt.
the whole Misfits scene at the end doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
It was a favorite.
Scene.
There's a lot about that movie that doesn't make any fucking sense, dude.
I know, but I'm just
even if you take the Misfits out
where
of
it really goes off the rails. A lot of it was a kind of a Walter Mitty fantasy, wacky kind of thing. But
yeah,
sometimes when I watch these films, I'm like too stupid to understand them. I need like a little bit of a push. And one of the things was, I think I read somewhere or something where like George said like, oh, the entire time, that's not a mask that he's wearing. It's just like what he thinks he's seeing. And everyone else seems normal. And I went, oh, let me kind of watch this again. And then all of a sudden, like everything just clicked. I was like, oh, now I get it.
Because nobody in the movie references the mask. They'll just say, oh shit, Henry, what happened to you? And you just know he's got blood on his face or something. But nobody else sees the masks except for him.
The twist ending where it comes back on automatically, like obviously it's his perception.
Yeah. So I second time around, once I like knew what to expect and like understood the film better, I liked it a lot more. Not that I hated it the first time. I was like, okay. The second time,
however,
I was like, oh, yeah.
In the news footage or the security camera footage, isn't it showing him as a mask?
Well, it's got a mask, but it's the mask that he has that he got.
No, but it's not his point of view. Isn't he shown in the news as having the mask?
Right,
that other people
right.
can
But
see?
he does have a mask that he got from old Leslie Hope, her character, because she's
I thought by then it was off.
Mask.
Maybe I have the order wrong.
Well, he's wearing the mask in the picture, but it's not a part of his face. He just has a mask on.
Okay, right. I've got the order wrong then.
Right. He scratched himself. He's got 2 scratch marks there, so you can go back and look.
Yeah. It's deep, Matt. You should go back and rewatch it.
I'm not gonna. Well, you know what? I'm not gonna say I'm not gonna do it. I'll do it. I'll go back.
It was better on second viewing. I do give.
Well, hey, look. If we get a new U.S. release, which I have on pretty good authority that there's one in the works, I think it's perfect time, Matt. You should pick it up. And
I know I'm being too hard on it. For me personally, it's not necessarily the story, it's the acting. The acting is just trash. The whole fucking thing.
Peter Stormare is
Peter
genius.
Stormare gets on my nerves, dude.
Also,
if you got a couple of maracas, get your ass over here and start shaking.
As someone who worked in the laser industry, you're never going to get a laser like that in public. It's impossible.
But hey, it was his imagination the whole time. Remember,
it's still much better than Diary.
He killed the guy with the thing, right? So.
It's still much better than Diary.
Of George's later work, it's definitely my favorite for sure.
Some of the acting is pretty bad in Diary. I have a soft spot for Diary because I saw it in the theater on my birthday, and I was seeing a George Romero movie in the theater, and so I've got a soft spot for that one. But yes, there's some pretty bad acting in it.
You didn't see Land of the Dead in theater?
I did see Land of the Dead too, but anything that I could see in the theater, I was excited about it. So. Yeah, I saw Land of the Dead on opening night. Yeah, still got the ticket stub somewhere, but of course I look at my ceiling because I've got shit commensurate to the ceiling. I think that's where it's at in one of the poster frames. But yeah, no, I'll go back and watch Bruiser, dude. I think I owe it to you because of how much you love it, how much you've talked about it.
Have you only seen it once?
I've seen it one time, and it was like high school. Like I was telling, I've got the VHS. That's the last time I saw it. Was way back.
Oh, then your opinion doesn't matter.
Yeah,
yeah. Come on, you got to go back. You got to go back. Give it another
but
shot.
I mean, I remember it well, and I remember not liking it at all. So,
and I think we all should know at this point, especially with a lot of George's stuff, is that a lot of it really does require like a second watch or third watch, and sometimes things just clicked more. Like even when I watched Diary of the Dead, it wasn't as bad as I remembered. There were elements that was like, okay, the acting was still the poorest, but like the story and some of the other elements were stronger than I remembered that they were.
I think it's more enjoyable than Survival.
Oh yeah,
definitely.
I still like Survival more. I still didn't think there was anything that was. I think there was like things for Diary that were more embarrassing. But Survival, I don't think of it as a horror movie. And I like the weird twist at the end with the daughter and then the all that stuff I wasn't expecting. So
I agree there.
But anyway.
You
watch Bruiser again.
Yeah. Give it another shot. Go in with open mind. Guys, that was a great stream. Glad to catch you guys live. Yeah, man, I'm glad you were able to catch it live, Johnny. You're always commenting after the fact, and I've always hoped to catch you in a live stream at some point. So I'm glad you're able to make it, man. Good to see you. Lois saying thanks for an awesome stream. Thank you for coming in and asking some pretty killer questions. I appreciate it.
It's not every day you meet someone that met Keith Wayne.
Yeah. That was pretty fucking cool to hear. Well, one last thing before we wrap up here. I just wanted to go over, and I don't want to bring the mood down or anything like that, but we did lose some pretty big names in the Romero horror world, and I did put together a little in memoriam video here to kind of round it all out. So I want to play that here, then I will come back. We'll get some thoughts on some of the folks that we lost in 2024, and then we'll wrap this sucker up, and I'll let you guys go to bed. So here is the 2024 in memoriam, those we've lost in 2024.
Sitting here alone in my father's home. Tomorrow I'll believe it on my own. to the hills. As a child I'll go, but I'd rather be a wanderer than to never go at all. With pity there's just emptiness, but with sorrow there comes joy. And I would rather die in a hurricane than to never know the storm. Fears I know, I face them as my castle walls they fall. Oh, but I would let those castles tumble. I'd never love at all. See, the life is an open road. There'll be people stay, people who'll go. No, at first it pains me so. I think I'm just learning how to let go.
Good job, man.
There we go.
Very nice.
Very nice.
I love that
Yeah.
song so much.
Perfect
Yeah.
song.
That's why I love Night Riders.
It's
It's
a great fucking song.
That scene in Night Riders is hard to sit through without tearing up. So.
Yeah. But yeah, we lost a couple of pretty big names in 2024. David Emge, of course, passed away in January 2024. We recently lost Tony Todd. Barbara Anderson passed away. Mark Whitey Cooper, who was a pretty popular drummer in the local Pittsburgh area throughout his time and vintage drum collector. So yeah, I just wanted to put that together, put it out there, and then just kind of say thank you, and again say hi to George for us. So, anybody got any good stories? Tony Todd, David Emge. I don't think Barbara Anderson really did too many conventions, but she taught. I think it was Carnegie Mellon. She taught a lot of like costume design stuff. She worked on Creep Show, Night Riders, Day of the Dead. Of course, married to Cletus Anderson, who passed away a few years ago. And of course, Mark. I think on the last roundtable, actually, I had Paul come on. Paul actually had somewhat of a relationship with Mark Whitey Cooper, and kind of told a couple of stories about Mark. And it's funny. Mark had a YouTube channel, and he has a video on there. He's like, my 2 seconds of fame, and it's a shot. It's him and Dawn of the Dead, where he gets the shot. He gets shot in the head and falls. He's like, "Yep, that's me. I was famous." But yeah, what are you guys' thoughts? Your memories or thoughts on some Tony Todd, David Emge? I've a lot to say about David Emge and Tony Todd. Yeah. But what do you guys have to say, man?
Yeah, Tony Todd was one of the first celebrities that I ever actually met in person at my first convention ever. I know I've told you this story a million times, but it was Days of the Dead 2019 in Charlotte, and I walked up to the table. It was just him and his handler, no line or anything. Super warm dude, like got right up, came around the table and was talking to me, and I told him the story about how when I was in high school, in my drama class, we had to do a monologue, and I chose his monologue as Ben from Night 90 as my monologue to talk to in the class. And he loved that. He was like, "Oh, how'd it go?" And how, and I told him how great it was, and it was awesome. And he loved it. So that was a really good experience. And then I got to meet him again a couple years ago when the newest Candyman movie came out. They played it at the Plaza Theater in Atlanta. And he came and did a Q&A at the theater. It was kind of a pretty cool experience. He hung around, spoke to everybody, took pictures, and that was the last time I saw him. And I think he was at Living Dead Weekend a couple years ago too.
Yeah, for the Night 90 reunion. I wanted to meet him, but Tony Todd was one of those guys that it's like it's fucking Candyman. Like he's like in my world, like he's as important as Freddy or Jason. Like, he's fucking Candyman, you know?
Yeah.
So, like, at Living Dead weekend, I was like, oh, I want to meet him. But every time I'd go by his table, it was just packed, like a line. Just people, like, waiting. Because I remember, I think Larry and Dan Lowry had their table next to Tony Todd. And I remember standing there and just kind of waiting to see if, like, the line would go down, you know, just kind of talking to Dan Lowry and shit, you know.
Yeah.
And I just wait, and it's just like, nope, people would just keep coming, just keep coming, just keep coming. I'm like, man, I don't know. I'll come back later. I'll come back later. And like, I just never got a chance to meet him. So I kind of regret that now, but
yeah, that was really cool. And then, and obviously I'm not sure. I know, Michael, I know you've met David, but I never had the opportunity to.
I've never met.
Oh, you
David.
never, you did never meet. You met George.
I never met him. Yeah, I met George. I never got a chance to meet David.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance. I didn't get a chance to meet him, but still, like when he passed away this year, it hit so hard. And I think we talked a little bit about this too. And it's not necessarily that we're mourning the person. I felt like I was mourning a piece of my life, or like a piece of my childhood. You know what I mean? Like, David played such a huge part in my life, especially from when I was a teenager up to now, that it's like I feel like I'm mourning that. You know what I mean? The Dawn of the Dead will always be there. We'll always be able to watch it and see it whenever we want. But just to know that he's gone, you know, that's really tough. And it kind of hit me like a rock this year. I don't know. It was weird.
Yeah. I agree with that. Like I said, I never met David. I was lucky to go to his funeral, meet his family. His family's the coolest people in the world. Like, just the sweet. Like, they were just so thrilled that, like, me and Will showed up, and they're just like, you were fans of David? Like, people like David? Like, yeah, David is in fucking Dawn of the Dead. Like, we had no idea. And then they on the obituary, whatever, he had all these people from around the world, like, messaging and leaving messages like, oh, R.I.P. David, we'll never forget. It's like, we had no idea he was as popular as he was. We just thought he was just in like this weird cult zombie movie back in the day, and we didn't think much of it. But we had no idea he actually has fans. Like, no, we're huge fans. And it's funny because, like, a few months ago, like, I was going to the theater to see something else, and I noticed that Dawn of the Dead here in Evansville, because David's from Evansville, and his family, all of his family's here in Evansville. And we went to the theater, me and my buddy Rory. We were going to the theater to see something, and I noticed that Dawn of the Dead had a private screening at 4 p.m. And it was like, oh, yeah, it's a private screening for some people. And I was just like, who? I was like, I don't know, just a bunch of people rented the theater out and just wanted to play Dawn. I was like, I feel like I would know here in Evansville if there's a group of people that would rent out a theater to watch Dawn of the Dead. I feel like I'd be a part of that group. I don't know. But I was like, wait a minute. Like, I kind of feel like his family probably got together, rented the theater, and played Dawn of the Dead just to kind of go back and, because a lot of them were like, oh yeah, I remember David being in that movie, but I don't think I've ever seen it. So I kind of like to think that his family got together and watched the movie in the theater.
So at least they played that, not the booby hatch, right? So.
Well, his niece asked me about the booby hatch at the funeral. She's like, "Yeah, wasn't he in some weird like softcore porn movie or something at one point?"
Humphrey Bogart
like,
accent.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know if it's a little out there, but
it's funny because I think I found the article or I read it somewhere that someone posted it, and basically like they the whatever critic, maybe it was George Anderson, lampooned the movie and said like the only good part of it actually was this guy David Emge.
Yeah,
I agree with
that. And it's funny, the night that I found out David passed away, I was watching the Booby Hatch for the first time. And mostly because I knew David was in it. I was like, I got to see David in this movie.
And
just
what's his character's name again in that? What's the
fucking Angelo Fettuccine.
And it's a shame because I never met David. Yeah, there's so many people I never met. But I watched these, videos of him at the conventions. I would say, I think he would have been my favorite out of all the Dawn people because it seemed to be that he would always say something that would crack me up. There would always be some sort of comment that he would, that he would, and it wasn't like he was a comedian. It was just he was just naturally funny and said the right funny thing at that you know what I mean? He wasn't like trying to put it on
that
like
sense of humor, and that's what his family, even his family, like his sisters and stuff, would always say like, "Oh, David was always the jokester, always had that dry sense of humor that would just always say the funny thing in the dark moment type of thing." It's like at a funeral, like David would crack people up type of thing.
Yeah, I would love to see like a compilation of all of his like little funny moments that he's done at these conventions. Like I know one of them, he was saying at the first Dawn of the Dead convention in like 2001 or 2003, he was like, after we did the movie, we go think, oh, this is our big break, and we send these, our things to all these agents, and they go, oh, we're not gonna, put you in, this because you're in Dawn of the Dead, and he was like, well, because it's gonna make a ton of money, or however he said it like that. It's like, you idiots, this is gonna make so much money. It was just the way that he said it at the right time with the right expression and everything. I always end up literally laughing out loud with these kind of like, moments he would just burst out at the convention and just say something, or just being that, like you said, that dry sense of humor. And it was a real shame because obviously, like, someone that I think, I would have loved to have, not talked about the movie, but just him in general as a person.
Because I mean,
love some audience member asking him about the body blow from Dawn, the awkward body blow, and he goes, "I don't know why George wanted me to act such a goofball, but I did it." So
Well, it's funny because David was actually the only one that actually knew how to fucking shoot guns, and like, he was military. And I remember the story. I think Jeannie Jeffries tells when she'd be doing his makeup, and he'd be like, all right, I'm gonna go head to set now and pretend like I have no idea how to shoot a gun. He's like, but what about you, Ed? Are you I don't know if you're a big convention goer or?
Well, I go between here and Tennessee. I would Ric Flair's last match, for instance, but the convention here in Little Rock, I've asked them before, why don't they book George Romero when he's alive, or Kane Hodder, or Robert Englund, the higher up, but they say who? They literally said who. They didn't know who George Romero was. Wow. I was like,
that's probably not a convention I would want to go to.
I was like, you're booking a convention? I mean, they'd have I've met Michael Biehn from Terminator, for example. I've met Michael Biehn from Terminator, Kyle Reese.
I was also making a joke with the George Romero thing. I know George Romero, I don't know Michael Biehn.
Oh, okay, I got it.
I don't know who George Romero is, but I do know Michael Biehn. Oh my god!
But I'm a huge fan of the Crow movies, so I didn't watch the remake out of respect for Brandon. Now I'm seeing Tony gone. He's like the 5th cast member who's passed away so far.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, you're right.
Tony was in a lot. Tony did a lot of work. Tony the Crow, Night 90, Candyman, of course. He did a lot of voice acting and stuff.
And he was on Night Court too, as well.
He was a hell of a Klingon on Star Trek. I know a lot of guys aren't Trek fans, but
that's true. I'm not a big Star Trek fan, but dude, he's one of those characters from Star Trek that I could recognize. I recognize that guy.
Howard Sherman was on Star Trek too.
Yep.
Yeah. Tony Todd was was the first convention that I went to, was the one that he was at. And I still didn't know anybody or even how the whole thing worked. I really just went there just to hang out for the Q&A. I didn't know the whole vibe and everything or what they had. But Tony Todd would have been someone that I would have liked to have talked to, because, as I've said plenty of times before, doing trying to recast Ben is the horror equivalent of trying to recast Vito Corleone. For The Godfather. Okay, you get to play The Godfather. We have to find, Vito. Such massive shoes to fill. And he did such an incredible job. I would love to have known his, how much pressure that he might have felt, or how he would have, taken on the role. Okay, I have this responsibility. And he said that he fought to have that role. The only thing that I would like to know now is that he said that Dwayne Jones, gave him the okay. And I remember he was at a convention and he teared up a little bit about it. But I don't know how the timeline adds up, because Dwayne Jones passed away in 1988. I don't know if they, I know that there was Flesh Eater, there was some sort of thing. So maybe they were casting the film much earlier than when the movie, I don't know. It seems the timeline kind of fits. But he really fought to play Ben. Was it because he thought he had the ability to show that kind of respect and to bring his performance to that level?
I think he was just a perfect fit for it. I mean, even when Tom talks about the other guys that Eric LaSalle and those guys that audition for the role, great actors, but it's hard for me, even even with Dwayne Jones in the original, like a remake without Tony Todd is not like doesn't compute to me. Like I'm just like he's perfect for that role. Like that's the perfect Ben for the 90s, I guess, you know.
And in a way, he's almost better than Dwayne Jones, because Dwayne Jones, when he gets into the film, he's kind of resourceful, and then he's just very straightforward. All right, this is what we got to do. Blah, blah, blah. I don't believe, you know what I mean? His emotion is not all over the place.
Tony Todd seemed like he brought a lot of empathy to Ben.
Yes, and that's why you could see, like, in one moment he's very, like, he's crying, you know, he's caring for Barbara, and then all of a sudden he's like 10 anger at Harry. Yeah. Whereas Dwayne Jones doesn't have that. I'm not saying that one's better, but Tony Todd has a larger range, as, you know, going from, you know, you never see the most upset that Dwayne Jones gets is he's shocked when the car blows up, when the truck blows up.
Yeah,
that's about the extent of, like, you know, you don't see him like, oh my God, what had happened or anything like. Or he does show tenderness to Barbara, but like in like a remote way, you know, like you know, oh, I got these shoes for you. Oh, not really that
she's almost a hassle.
Yes,
it's just like, oh God, this woman.
And
he just slugs her.
She's freaking out over here. Like,
and it's not that
just
Dwayne
calm
Jones
down, you know.
It's not that he could have not have been able to handle to be that emotional. It's maybe just not what that character called. But in the remake, you needed somebody that could be able to do both convincingly, where you're like, oh my God, he's really gonna, you know, punch Harry, at the same time being very tender to Barbara and being emotional, because he's the whole idea is he's afraid too. He's just more heroic, but in the inside he's scared, whereas he's scared and fighting, and Harry Cooper's scared and cowardly.
Yeah.
So in honor of Tony Todd, I'm going to post this in the chat. It's a 20-minute Trek fan film where he starred in, and his acting is really good in it. And just if you can stomach watching a Star Trek thing, it's actually really well made for a high-quality fan film, and he's great in it. It's Tony Todd. So,
wow.
Yeah, check him out. He does a speech and everything.
Now, was Barbara Anderson? I heard somewhere that Zilla Clinton, it was her idea to get Cletus and Barbara, that she was hounding George.
Not sure.
George finally, like, recanted. I don't know how much that's true. Maybe Larry would know. I didn't even know Larry was still in here. But
I got to meet Barbara Anderson at her home in 2019 with Mike Felsher. That was really amazing. Nice lady. So I don't know.
It really brought a lot to the table in terms of George's work to put the scenes together, for Creepshow and the Day of the Dead and that stuff.
The work that she and Cletus did on like Creepshow is just as important as almost anything else in that movie, because just the look of Creepshow,
what goes into that? Like, I have no, like, to me, I'm such an idiot. It's like, what does this character wear? Who cares? It's just a t-shirt and jeans. But like, this,
it's huge, huge amount of work.
Yeah.
It's like, what goes into that? And how do you know?
Costuming and set design is crazy. Yeah.
What goes into creating the right look for a character? Because I don't see it. I don't have the capacity to think like that. It's just like, because to me, it's not important. But I know it is important, and I would love to know the insight between that, that kind of stuff.
So you're saying you worked at the University of Pittsburgh and then worked on the movies on the side?
Teaching at Carnegie Mellon, I believe.
Mellon, okay.
There's an interview that I have with her where she kind of goes into that. I might post on the channel here in a little bit, but yeah, she was pretty. When she worked all the way with George all the way up through Dark Half, I think. She started Night Riders all the way through the 80s. I think she worked on Dark Half. I know she worked on. I know she worked on Monkey Shines. So yeah, pretty much with George all the way through the 80s. Her and Cletus both.
Was she on Two Evil Eyes?
I think so. I think they were just kind of like constant with George throughout the 80s there.
The last run of his Pittsburgh.
What's up, Robert? Robert said, I know it's probably near the end, just saying, hi, I had to work tonight, so I couldn't watch live. No worries, man. Good to see you, as always, in the chat, my brother. But yeah, guys, let's wrap this sucker up. We're over 3.5 hours into this.
Yeah.
I appreciate you guys taking the time out of your Saturday nights. Come hang out with me and nerd out about Romero for a few hours. So I appreciate it, guys. You guys are awesome. Ed, what do you get to promote, man? I know you've been posting some videos here lately. What was the one with the squirrel? What was the squirrel's name on the
Twiggy?
The skis. Twiggy. There you go.
From 1981. I also have a video on my channel called the George Romero Archives. Check that out. I'll leave it at that.
Very cool. What's your channel called, man? Give it
Ed Trader Music and Entertainment.
Ed Trader Music and Entertainment. Check it out. Synth, what do you got coming up, man? I know you got a lot in the hopper. I know you got NAMM coming up, and you're
NAMM's going to be some live coverage, some recorded locally and uploaded just due to signal issues as usual. So yeah, look for some live coverage there. Try to hobnob with some celebrities. You guys don't know the music thing except for John that well, but Uli Behringer is going to be at NAMM. And see, that's funny. He's famous for basically cloning synths without patent and copyright and selling them for cheap and pretending that it's all okay and you can steal the intellectual property, blah, blah, blah. And he's super litigious. So, if you tease him about it too much, he will come after you, right? And
he would buy it's not entirely, maybe now it is, but so
he bought Tom Oberheim's name and Sequential, or tried to sue Sequential for something over something he stole, and he bought Tom Oberheim's name for a while and graciously gave it back to him. It's like, who the hell are you?
But that's more of like what I was thinking. That's more of what it is. It's not that he was like stealing it, but buying the rights and those plans. Because I when I worked at Sam Ash, I worked at one of the bigger stores. We actually would get our checks delivered personally by Paul Ash every Thursday, because the Hicksville store was the central office right next to us. So I worked with Adam Ash, who was the son of one of the CEOs. He was eventually the district manager. A lovely kid, one of the Ash
kids.
And we talked about
the store.
What?
Shame what happened to Sam Ash stores.
Yeah, it was inevitable because you want to go in there to teach the store was just empty. The problem is that a lot of the people in the central office were just glorified salespeople and they weren't moving forward. Anyway. Luckily, I got moved into teaching into another store, so I was perfectly fine. But in any case, I remember him talking to me about Uli Behringer. He would just be like, he just he buys the rights to like a TS9 pedal and then just makes them as cheaply as possible.
That's that part of it though. But he literally will clone famous gear that's not even always out of production, and make it his own with the same look and feel, similar sounds.
Well, the problem
never pays any rights to anything.
I think I have the same guy that gave me that $100 is a lawyer, and I think he told me, because we were talking about this, and you'll know more about this too. You can't copyright a circuit.
No.
So I think
Moog ladder circuit you can, but that was
but you can't. So like you can make like a TS9 distortion pedal, but then you get into a gray area because they're both green and they both have the same look.
Sure.
So he probably tries to skirt around that way to say, well, we're going to build the same inside. But I've heard terrible things.
Look like a carbon copy.
I don't know what the hell's y'all talking about right now, but y'all need to do a stream together. y'all need to get on there because y'all know what the fuck y'all are talking about. I don't know what the hell's y'all talking about right now, but
yeah, I know we're going on
it's just
it's fun.
A jerky person.
Yeah, he's to cut it short, I don't want to go too long about it, but he's had a couple famous incidents with the guy Peter Kern, who runs a famous music website, where he made a fake
Sorry guys,
pedal.
What's up? Titanic discussions. I dipped in shit if that wasn't a great live stream thing. Hey, what's up, Titanic? Titanic was one of those guys that was like one of the first comments on any video I ever did on YouTube.
Oh wow.
So I haven't seen him in a while, so it's good to see you, man. I appreciate it.
That's cool.
But go ahead, Synth. I'm sorry.
Just real quick, he made a joke pedal making fun of Peter Kern that had a kind of anti-Semitic appearance of the pedal.
Oh, well, that's always fun.
Cork Sniffer, and because he made a snobby review about his rip-off products. And they also did some other stuff that was unsavory. So
he's gotten a lot worse with age. Sometimes people start to lose it as they get older.
Yeah, but it's just one of those things where obviously Fender Stratocaster has been copied by China forever. A lot of companies have had their intellectual property stolen forever in the music industry, just like every other industry. But he's so blatant about it; it's unbelievable. It's literally intellectual property theft. Yeah. So he's going to be at NAMM, so everyone's going to be trolling him. That'll be funny.
Well, I expect to see some of that.
I'll do my best without getting in trouble. I don't want to get kicked out of NAMM. So
be as kind as you can. But
he's a real douchebag. But anyway, so that'll be fun. That's coming up. Every week I do it, unless I get busy or just not motivated. I do hardware jams for the hardware jams group. So that's why my channel has so many music things on it, because every week for years I've been doing a music something or other live jam. And I do other live streams and other random shit. So there's always content on there from something.
Everybody's link is down in the description. Matt, you do anything on your YouTube or anything you want to promote coming up?
I got nothing, man. I got nothing. The only thing is I did get a pretty cool drone for Christmas. So I think what I'm going to start doing is speaking of drones and adrenochrome and fucking, anyway.
That's another stream. We'll come back.
Well, yeah, it's all another stream. I'm actually thinking about taking it to locations when I do like my then and now photos and shit, and doing some drone footage.
Hell yeah!
So I may, because if you go to my YouTube page, I've got like 5 or 6 videos. It's all random shit, shows that I've been to, some Living Dead weekend stuff, and just random videos here and there. So I think I might actually change it to just be like drone footage and shit like that. I don't know.
Just be careful you fly it, because not only can you get it confiscated, but a heavy fine.
Yes, and actually, what's really cool is the kind of drone that I got in the app. It actually tells you where like no fly zones are and shit like that. And I think certain places that I do want to go fly it, I think you have to take like a test before you fly it over there. It's
mainly national parks are verboten, basically.
Yes.
And certain altitudes, obviously, by airports and other places are forbidden.
Yeah.
So just take it up to New Jersey.
Well, what? Yeah.
Take a few.
Add it to the pile of drones that are. But no, I thought it would be cool, especially to take it up to Living Dead weekend and get some stuff around the mall and some of the locations.
Yeah, I brought a shitty one. It didn't work, so I had to do it again. So.
Yeah, so just kind of revisit some of those spots that I've been to and get some drone footage. I think that'd be pretty neat. So maybe, I don't know, we'll see. Today was the first day that I flew it. I got some pictures and flew it around the neighborhood and got a couple of quick shots of some videos. So
I've always wanted a drone, but
did you get a DJI little fold up one?
Yeah, it's a DJI Mini 4K.
Great. Yeah, those are awesome. I have the slightly lesser version, but those are nice.
There's your YouTube channel. Adrena Drones. There you go. What about you, John? You got anything? You working on anything for your channel or anything you want to promote? I know you're still doing the Unearthing the Undead on the Image 10 website. So check out that.
That's my passion project. That's probably the one thing I'm most proud of in my life, which is kind of silly, but it's the only way that I can, sort of add something to the history of one of my favorite movies of all time, and trying to get just more information and little.
Well, dude, you gotta think like it's really fucking cool because it's a movie that people have been passionate about for years and years and years, and it's a movie that's been around for 56, 57 years now. And you're discovering and uncovering all of this stuff that nobody else has been able to uncover until you came along to just kind of put in the work and the time and the effort to figure this shit out. What you're doing is really cool. It's a really awesome thing for fans, for crazy ass fans like us.
Yes.
You're the fucking man. So,
but also it's to find what else is out there, and getting stories. You just don't know, but it would be nice to get the whole picture and just trying to find as many people as possible.
Well, we're closer now to seeing the full picture because of the work that you're doing than we were before. So
and also to honor these people that contributed to this movie. Because, and I've said this before, it's just mind blowing to have a movie of this stature where a large majority, like 98%, well, maybe not 98, let's say 90% of the people that are in the film are not actors. They're regular people.
Oh, yeah.
The police, the neighbors, the ghouls.
Just people in Evans City that heard that, they were doing some crazy thing,
and
I'll go show up for that.
Crazy to think like, oh, that's this person, or that's that person, and this is what they did with their life, and trying to learn interesting stuff about them. And also, so like one of the people that I found recently, I've been waiting for 4 months for Jim to send me this goddamn photo. He finally sent it to me because it was the only decent shot of this person, and I knew that it existed because he showed it to me. And I talked to the to the guy's daughter. I said, I want to be sure this is him, but I'm waiting for this photo. I finally got it right after Christmas, and I sent it to her. And it's crazy because she also would come to the Living Dead weekends. She showed me a photo of her and Howard Sherman and Laurie Cardille, and I went, you didn't come to anybody and tell us, like, hey, by the way, my dad was in the film, like where? So
a lot of people don't think that anybody cares. They're just like, no.
So I was able to say, okay, well, she's pretty confident it's him, but not sure. So I said, okay, I know that he went to the University of Pittsburgh, and the University of Pittsburgh has a really great archive. I found his yearbook photo, and I went, oh, yeah, that's definitely him. So, and then I sent it to her like, oh, this is your dad's yearbook photo. And the year that he graduated was 1967. And I said, now this makes sense because this person would have knew this person who knew this person. And then, like I said, I get a better understanding of the people that were there and who contributed and, whatever. And all this, and like he said, so he's also in the dark half because he wrote this in his, on his Facebook. He said he was in Dawn of the Dead, and he's also in the dark half. And he goes, I'm in the scene as a reporter, and I'm wearing Timothy Hutton's coat. And I went, and sure as shit, I found him, and he's wearing Timothy Hutton's coat. He was not lying. So it's like, oh, this is other cool connection where this guy that was a zombie in Night of the Living Dead is also in the dark half. This other,
I think that's also like a cool thing about like a lot of these films that were just shot in the Pittsburgh area is like everybody was kind of a part of it. Like whether it was a Romero film or a Russo film or a Heinzman film or a Booba film, it's like all these people are always just kind of in the same movies. It's a big ass family.
It's a community thing. Let's make a movie, right?
Exactly. It's just a big community thing. It's like people that were in Tony Booba's Lightning Over Braddock. You're like, oh shit, I recognize him. That's Sal. He's in Night Riders. Or whatever. Yeah. It's like all these people are in the same circle of movies, so it's pretty awesome to put all that together, man.
It's great. And then you get to know them and talk to them, and actually what I was going to say about the memorial, I guess we could finish off here, is like I wasn't upset so much that David Emge died. I was more upset that a friend of people that I knew had passed away. Yeah. Like when I saw the memorial thing, I forgot where that I think Garth put up or something, and then like John Amplis wrote that had that really sweet, like 2 minutes, and you feel because this is someone that you've met, you've met David, but also you got to remember these are not just like random actors that never talk to each other. These are people that were actually friends and they knew each other, and I feel more upset for them that they lost a friend of theirs. I mean, I've never met David. I would probably be more upset if it was something that personally that I knew. Yeah. And you don't really get that with any other director in any of these kind of films. David's passing struck me more because I was upset with the people that I know and that I was friends with, that they lost a friend of theirs. And it's a really beautiful and interesting position to be in, to be a fan of these films, like all of us are. And we actually know some of these people, and even though we're fans of them on the screen, when they pass away, so it's like, oh, did you just hear that, Sonny Bono died? Oh, okay, whatever. These are people that we actually have some connection to, not just from the movies that we watch, but we actually sometimes know these people and they've interacted with us. So, it's always tough when they go. And that's why, God damn it, that Donald Rubinstein song, It's just so perfect.
Yeah.
And I had an idea, like, oh, this would be great if someone like did this for George. And at the end, when Brother Blue opens up his hand, there's like a picture of George in there. I said, oh, that would work really. And then you just pretty much did it. So,
I'll steal that and do it at some point.
Yep.
I'll give you credit.
That's fine. Because I'm thinking you can like intercut scenes of George and then them crying at the thing and blah, blah, blah.
Well, I did the thing when I first started the channel for George. I think it was the 6th anniversary of his passing. I did the George tribute video to the song from The Quiet Man that apparently he was listening to when he passed away, and that was tough enough. I don't like doing those because it's just like, God, this is fucking depressing. Like I don't even want to like do this. Like it's not fun. It's just like, ugh. But
it's life, and it's like
I wanted it because like I don't know anybody. Like who else is going to do a tribute video to Mark Whitey Cooper or these people that deserve some recognition for what they did.
Because we all of us would cut off both of our legs to like as far as like, oh, I don't want to care if I'm having makeup put on me for a zombie walk, but if it's like, oh, you're in a George Romero film, we're in. We cut both of our legs off to be that 2 seconds.
Squib on my head and detonate that fucker as many times as you need. Like, just do it. Like, it's fine.
They've done what we wish we could do. So,
right.
The
just stay away from Gary Zeller. You might blow up.
You'd be better off just staying away from Gary Zeller. Yes, that's true.
Said that was another strange thing that then they used Don Barry as in Knight Riders, like right after as like an actor.
Yeah,
like,
but she's actually pretty good in Knight Riders, actually.
Yeah, she's very good.
Grande saying, great show. Thank you very much, Grande. Appreciate it.
John's from Long Island.
Yeah, come on, Grande. Don't try to fit in with us Southern folk down here. Johnny saying, thanks, Alpha. Thanks, guys. Thank you, Johnny. I'm glad you're able to catch it, man. It's cool you were able to catch a live stream for the first time. Let's see. Where was I? Okay, here we go. Bonnie saying, enjoyed tonight's conversation. Nice tribute. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Bonnie. As always.
Did you send her record?
I did. Good. I did. She finally accepted it. She was like, just let John have it. Like I was like, nah.
It's funny. I saw y'all's back and forth in the comments. That was pretty funny.
I know you put my ass in the middle of it. I was like, what do I do? Like, somebody take this fucking thing.
Yeah. I'm glad Bonnie got it. That I really wanted, so it worked out.
Yeah, I'm glad Bonnie got it though. Brandon says, great live stream, great talks. Appreciate it, Brandon. Looking forward. I'll be watching your documentary here in a few days, so I'm looking forward to that, man. I'll definitely be in touch. Larry said, good night. Good night, Larry. Have a good night. Brandon says, exactly how these people need to be honored. They are part of his legacy of these films we love and what brings us together. Absolutely.
Well said.
And Johnny says, Matt, I got DJI Drone 4K, amazing tech. I uploaded footage to a stock image site. Great way to learn and a little pocket money. Earn a little pocket money. Okay.
Make a little money. Yeah.
There you go. And then Brandon says, have a great night. Hope you all are going to be at Living Dead weekend. Well, I'll be there. I think most of us will be there. Ed, you better
absolutely
make the trip, man. Make the trip. It'll be worth
it. You talked me into it.
Come on,
you
man.
Don't know what it's like
and you know us. So when you see us, we'll hang out and be like me and Synth and Will. We'll just stand out in the parking lot for 3 hours.
Just to quote Arnold, get your ass to Monroeville.
There you go.
Such a familial feeling that I had no idea about till I was there. Yeah. You're not at a convention. You're at this family reunion.
Right.
Because it's not just you guys. It's also a chance where, Tom Dubinsky and Mike Gornick can see each other and say, hi, how's it going? And you know what I mean? Like, I'm sure that they might talk online once in a while, but this is where they see each other.
I had the coolest chat with Chief Woodenhead. That guy's amazing.
Dan Kamen.
Oh, he's amazing.
You will come across these interactions with people that you're just like, we're just hanging out. It's like Grande tells a story about just standing there talking to John Amplis for half an hour and just bullshitting about anything,
And another thing that I should put out is like, obviously it's nice if you buy a signature for them, but none of them are uptight about you talking to them.
Yeah.
They're not going to be like, oh, if you're not buying anything, I don't really care. And I've been to enough conventions where I was at the table and I have never seen somebody where they were just like, oh, piss off or whatever. They're more than happy to talk to you You know, as long as you're not holding up a line or whatever, you know.
Oh, I was flat broke, and I was talking to everybody. They're super nice.
Yeah. and Synth, you can go to his channel and watch all the videos.
You can see me talk to Dan. You can see me talk to all the guy who played Fluffy and everything. So it's
Daryl Perch. He's a crazy guy. He's a lot of fun.
Yeah. You talk about it being a familial atmosphere. That's exactly what it is, and it's almost like summer camp. That's what I've kind of talked about it being before. Is it's like summer camp. We all meet there. We all see each other every year, and it's fucking awesome. So Ed, if you get a chance, man, you got to go.
Y'all didn't buy me dinner first. You just took me right to the bedroom.
well, I'll buy you dinner afterwards, man. I'll buy you dinner
afterwards. Our reward is just
go DoorDash.
Just be like, this is the experience that we forced on you, and now you have to go to every one of them.
It's like I've said. It's like going somewhere where it's like people speak your language.
Speak your language, yeah.
You know, absolutely. It's like you can't. There's not many places that you can just go and just. It's like, oh, let's bullshit about fucking Season of the Witch for 30 minutes. Yeah. It's like, you know,
and literally everywhere you turn, there's that guy from that and that guy from that and that.
Yeah.
But you're also talking to the people that worked on and appeared in it, and they're also excited to talk to you about it because when do they get this chance to talk about this kind of stuff? And that's where it's so different from all these other conventions. You know, you go to Comic-Con and okay, there's the guys that made Spider-Man. Who gives a crap? You know what I mean? This is you can actually go and talk to these guys, and they're happy to talk to you.
Yeah.
Unless you try to meet Tom Savini, then just don't worry about it.
Absolutely.
Only talk to him in the hallway. That was my success. Every time I talk to him,
talk to Tom. Hit up Tom when he's not at a table and not charging. And
or bring a chick with you. Bring a chick with you, and he'll talk to you.
Yeah, those are your two options.
I'll keep that in mind.
But once again, guys, I appreciate it. We've almost hit the 4-hour mark. This has been a lot of fun. Hell of a way to ring in and kick off 2025. Busy year. Got a lot coming up. Got a lot coming down the pike. Like I said, next weekend, got the history of Day of the Dead on home video. Going to do that live stream. We're going to talk about that. And then more coming that I have written down. I don't know. We'll get to it at some point, but I'm going to start experimenting with some different stuff here on the channel, so we'll see how that goes. But appreciate everybody watching. Make sure you like the video. If you're sticking with it this long and you haven't liked the video, then what the hell are you doing? We're 4 hours in. Hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Helps out a whole bunch. Helps us keep.
Who's us?
Keep the spirit of all of us. We're all in this together. I'm just the host here. Like this channel for all of us weirdos that just love spending 4 hours on a Saturday night talking about fucking zombies and malls and shit. You know.
Okay, I got an idea. This all do to Bub goodbye.
Okay.
Oh, a Bub goodbye.
Oh, he said Bub.
There you go.
Good night on Alicia. Everybody have a good rest of the week. Great rest of the night. Or, I guess we're in the morning, but everybody have a great rest of the week. I'll see you next week. And until then, as always, stay scared. Good night. Thanks again, guys.
Good night.